There we go. Welcome to another exciting episode of Shattermare Live. I am Brian, and I am joined by my esteemed co-hosts, Kyle and William. How's it going, guys?
Hello, everybody.
Hello. I fucked up the intro again. It's okay.
No problem.
Can you believe this? Can you believe that we're just random assholes trying to do a live show? I can't believe it,
I can believe it.
I can believe it.
There's a lot more assholes where that came from.
There's
Yeah.
there's
We're
a whole lot of people who are just random assholes trying to do a.
Well, we're talking about, before we started the show, like some of these people, these YouTubers, man. I mean, I won't name names, but some people who also are into comic books and shit, and they're like so performative. I guess they have to put on like a persona to be entertaining to people, and we're not. Like none of this shit.
We're not entertaining, or we're not putting on a performance.
Both. I don't know. The audience can judge, but like I don't. It's just three dudes hanging out, talking shit about comic books and comic book accessories.
I guess it's a different
Pop
thing
culture.
when you're making your living off of your YouTube channel.
I guess so. Then you're like, oh, it's time for work. You gotta.
Yeah, you probably got
dancing
to prepare like bullet points and things like that.
Yeah, you gotta be a dancing monkey for the super chats.
Some people do what they got to do to survive. I guess
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's the people doing the fake personas on their YouTube channels or fake personas in real life to try and lure people in so they can backstab them or whatever. We meet
the
weird
fake
people.
Personas in real life are even worse.
I don't meet people like that outside of.
I don't know if I could.
Yeah.
Would want to. I don't know if I would want to be like a YouTuber for profit or whatever. If you have to constantly watch all the garbage that these people put themselves through.
Could you imagine?
Jeez.
So much fucking time of your life, and then
I watch things I like. I just finished the first 5 episodes of Cobra Kai on Netflix, and we can talk about that. It's again another. Well, I don't want to spoil anything because the next 5 don't come out until November. So they're doing like the worst of any model you've ever seen on stream.
Like half the episodes and then half the episodes later.
Yeah, so
weird.
So I watched them canceled, and then I'll free up. I guess in November if I find out if they're any good or not. But yeah, it's either because the models, the 2 most popular models are either binge, which Netflix has always had, especially when it comes to Cobra Kai. You just watch them all, or you could, like Disney does, is weekly. So every week there's an episode, after 8-10 weeks, whatever, you're finished with the show. Either one is fine, but this is bullshit.
Pausing in the middle of the season. Yeah, that seems kind of dumb. Yeah, I haven't. I think I stopped watching Cobra Kai after season 4.
Okay.
4 or 5. It was right when it was like the end of the season where what's his name took over the he took over Cobra Kai and he just won. He won like the karate.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember the guy's name.
Was it Terry Silver or Kreese?
Kreese.
Okay.
Yeah. Like he used Silver. He like set him up and framed him, so he'd take the fall for him, and then Kreese took over and ended up, I think, winning the championship. And so they're like kind of defeated at the end of it, And then I think Miguel, like, he goes off to find his dad.
Okay. Yeah. I think that's 4.
So I have a lot of catching up to do, but I don't know. To me, that show, it was still good compared to a lot of the other stuff out, but to me, kind of went it became very soap opera. It's like watching a telenovela.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
seemed like they were kind of starting to rehash some of the same content. It's like, oh, this guy's, he's back. Oh, we beat him. He's back. So
Yeah, and that'd be switches sides.
mm,
I didn't want to start off with that. I'm just giving an example, but that it's a show I
yeah,
like, so
sure.
that's something I'll sit through and watch. But if somebody says, "Hey, let's watch the Acolyte," like I tried to watch the Ghostbusters movie that came out last year. Nope, I made it like 30 minutes in. I said, I just can't do this. There's only one Ghostbusters movie. I'm sorry.
Well, there's a new movie that just came out that's actually pretty good. I think I was really entertained. It's the Wolverine Deadpool movie.
Yeah,
Like
I want to get out to that.
Yeah, I would recommend it. Or I mean, just you can wait till it's on streaming in like a week and a half, probably, or a month.
Oh no, they're gonna leave this in theaters for a while.
Oh, it's actually doing that well.
It's like 900 million.
Oh shit! Yeah, see, I don't follow any of that anymore.
It'll be over $1 billion by the end of this weekend.
That's pretty sweet. Yeah, no, it should. I mean, it's a good movie. You could tell that Ryan Reynolds, like him and the guy who play
Jackman?
the guy who Hugh Jackman. He like you can tell Hugh Jackman is a big fan of all the X-Men movies. I mean, he was in all of them at this point, basically, almost all of them. And then Ryan Reynolds actually seems like a pretty big fan of the actual comics and all the movies that Fox has made and everything. So they do some good stuff in there. It's not just like key jangling bullshit where they're like, oh, we brought this character back. In fact, they straight up are making jokes about that. But they're like, no, let's give these characters a proper send off.
Yeah, there was even like I saw one scene. It was the cover for X-Men 251, this iconic cover, and they did that in the movie.
Yeah,
things like that. So it looks, and the thing is, the movie's
real costumes.
The movie's kind of a fluke, just because Bob Chapek was the one who greenlit it, not Iger. I don't think Iger wanted this done, but he wasn't in charge at the time. And then Ryan Reynolds pretty much had free reign, so there were no executives or anything involved. So
yeah, you could tell
it didn't get spoiled by the minutia that most MCU films and shows have had in the recent, since Endgame. And that's probably why it's good, but it's probably not going to be the norm. So enjoy it while it lasts.
Yeah. I think it's totally enjoyable as a one-off. I mean, I haven't seen all the stupid Loki show and all of that stuff where they introduce the time police or whatever. I haven't seen all that, so to me it was just like, okay. I mean, I'm aware of them, but I'm just like, okay, I'm just like, okay, cool. It's that's the premise they decided to use to bring Deadpool into the similar continuity, into the multiverse, and okay, whatever. But it's a fun adventure movie. It's like I don't need it to have ridiculous stakes. I mean, the stakes were so absurd. It was like a joke. It was like a parody of multiverse movies.
Yeah.
So, but at the end of the day, it was like, no, this is a movie with heart about those two characters.
And I heard it was a pretty good, rated R comedy as well.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, it's rated R, so you see a lot of blood and guts flying around and like broken bones and shit. So that's fun. I mean, from the opening of the movie, I thought, oh man, like there's this little. It's like Deadpool's like murdering a bunch of the time cops, and he's doing it to like In Sync or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this. Oh man, I hope honestly, I was like, this is kind of cringe. I was like, I hope the whole movie
like in the
hammy.
first Deadpool, during the opening credits, he was killing guys to "Angel of the Morning" by Juice Newton.
Yeah.
So that's kind of par for the course. Where he'll play some poppy or some cheesy song from the past, and it'll just be nothing but carnage
Yeah, so it was that kind of gag, but luckily that was the whole movie, is what I'm saying. Like there are parts I mean, the other parts of the movie are, I think, are well thought out and funny. And they, I don't know. Some people are saying a lot of stuff overstays its welcome. I don't know. I don't really think so. I don't think they push, jokes, or otherwise. I guess they landed for me because I thought like, okay, that was pretty cool. Like some of the bloodier stuff. I mean, like Wolverine completely fucks up Deadpool in part of the movie. He just like tears him to shreds.
Yeah, I heard it's violent, on a scale of and
super
pretty
violent.
much
Yeah.
all the Deadpool movies were pretty, pretty gory because of his power that he heals. They really take that. Okay, well, let's see if we can hit him with a chainsaw or light him on, and it's like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, they go pretty far in that with both of them, right? Because they have healing powers.
Yeah.
So,
so right now it's at 79 million. So it's been out for what, 12 days, something like that.
Yeah, something like that, like a week and a half.
It's not bad.
Oh, yeah, and I will say that there isn't. You don't have to watch any of the other stuff to enjoy this movie, and you don't have to watch this to enjoy anything else. You can watch it and just be, happy that you saw it, and it was an entertaining movie as a one-off.
Yeah, that helps because I didn't watch any MCU shows, and I hear that some of this harkens back to like Loki, and I don't know if there's another show,
but barely though. I mean, again, it's really just the launching off premise. It's like the parts of it that are from Loki facilitate.
It's like a bonus if you've watched it, but if you haven't watched it, it's no big deal. Is it that type of thing?
I know, honestly, I don't even think it's like that. Like it's literally like in Loki, from what I understand, there's like time cops, and the universe that the MCU takes place in, that's like the sacred timeline. And that's basically it. I don't want to spoil it too much for you. So Deadpool is like his universe is set to be destroyed, and so they're like, okay, well, someone decided that you get to live and come to the main universe, right? And then obviously he's like, well, I don't want my fucking universe to be destroyed. Like I have friends and family in that universe. And so, part of the reason for like saving his universe is he's like, well, I'm going to go get a Logan, so then he goes to different Wolverine universes, and they like, one of the jokes is funny because he goes to like a comic accurate Wolverine where he's like 4 feet tall. So that's a funny one because he's like, oh, look how cute you are. And he's like this tiny little
I saw
CGI
that
Hugh
clip.
Jackman. Yeah, it's different ones like that. They did one where it's like what's his name?
One was Henry Cavill.
Henry Cavill, yeah, that was funny. There's one he pops into where it's like Wolverine's about to fight the Hulk, so like that's a fun one for fans, and then so the Wolverine he finds is like the shittiest Wolverine. Basically, it's like the Wolverine at his lowest point, like a Wolverine that's basically failed his his X-Men or whatever. And so that's the one he finds, and that's the one he ends up kind of like by happenstance pulling into. Well, it's not even his universe until like the very end of the movie, but they go to the Void, which I guess is like maybe they talk about in Loki, but that's the thing, you don't have to know any of that. It's like all X-Men stuff,
and that's where all the cameos happen, right? Like
yeah. So you will enjoy this more if you actually didn't see any of the MCU. You'll enjoy this more if you've seen all the Fox X-Men movies, because they really pay homage to like the pre-Disney and like Marvel stuff, like Blade, like Elektra, like X-Men, basically the first X-Men all the way to like uh what was the last one? Dark Phoenix?
Yeah.
Like that to that. So like all of the Fox X-Men that have come out. Like the Fantastic Four movies, the Fox Fantastic Four movies, stuff like that. So yeah, so that was it was pretty fun. So yeah, and then the end credit scene is just like another bit. It's not like, oh hey, let's tease out this other bullshit movie. So
Okay.
yeah, so it was fun.
But the end credit. Well, that's probably on YouTube by now.
Yeah, you can probably watch it on YouTube, but if you stay, it's fun because during the credits they do like behind the scenes. You get to see like Hugh Jackman when he was much younger than they first started the X-Men movie. So it's like really like a touching. That's what I'm saying. It has a lot of heart. The movie has a lot of heart
That's good.
because it's like them, just having a great time, kind of celebrating like a decade, 2 decades of movies. Not all great. They'll poke fun at some of that stuff. So,
Oh, that's good. Though. That's good.
Yeah, like they have.
I've heard a lot of good things. That even though the plot might be a little thin, from some people have said that overall the fan service is on par with, let's say, like Spider-Man No Way Home or something like that.
Yeah, I would say so. But that's the thing. Yeah, like a lot of these reviewers, they'll complain about, oh, there's no plot. Like there's like 2 endings. But if you're a fan of these characters and you like the X-Men and you wanted to see a movie with Wolverine and Deadpool and you've been waiting like decades to see them together in live action, you don't give a fuck about the plot. That's what I'm saying. The plot itself is just a parody of all the shitty multiverse movies that have been coming out in like all of Phase 4 MCU.
Yeah.
The whole plot is basically just a joke to poke fun at them. Like the whole thing is to see these characters go on an adventure and to like follow them, and all of the journeys that they've had throughout, like all the X-Men movies. Like Logan is a big part, is a big part of this movie. So that's cool because that, I guess, was that was really Hugh Jackman's last Wolverine movie. So that plays a big role in this, I'd say, at least character wise. That's kind of how the movie launches off. Because when Ryan Reynolds is trying to go back and get Logan, like he's in the same universe somehow. So he just goes and like digs up his body, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you got to be healed, right?" And it's just like his adamantine skeleton. So he's just like beating guys to death with the skeleton of his Wolverine or whatever. So it's pretty good gag. But yeah, I'd say the icing on the cake is because it's still Disney now, right? So like when you're going into, if you go in the theater and you sit through the previews, one of the trailers they show was the new Captain America movie where it's just the Falcon.
Yeah.
And, and it's like, it's so funny because you see the trailer and you're like, oh god, the fucking Captain America movie. Of course they have the Falcon. It's not going to be the same, you know what I mean? And then you go into this movie and they're like showing all the great scenes of the first Avengers movie and like, oh, it's Captain America, and then they have a joke about Chris Evans or whatever, and because he also played the Human Torch, right, in the old Fox movies. So they have that and everything, and you're just like, wow, what a difference between the shitty Disney movies who've completely shat on all of the original actors and the characters to the point where they're trying to fucking roll out like Robert Downey Jr. in a, he's not that old, but it's like they're rolling him out in a wheelchair, to be like, oh hey, Look at old Robert Downey Jr. He's going to come back and play Doctor Doom.
Doctor Doom.
Aren't you
yeah.
excited now? And then all these guys are
I'm
like,
not.
"Oh, is this a course correction by Marvel?" Like,
Desperation.
yeah, it's just desperation. Is what that comes off as to me.
You've ran out of ideas, so you have
Yeah,
to.
It is. It's desperation.
yeah.
There's
Because
no
otherwise,
course correction. This is a fluke. So enjoy it
right.
while it's here. This is
Well,
a fluke. It's not going to happen again. Disney is going to stay the course with their DEI and ESG shit.
yeah. Well, or it's still Kevin Feige, and he's at the helm of all the retarded ideas they have.
Yeah.
So even
And
if he
Bob
realizes,
Iger,
and
Bob Iger would not have allowed probably a show or a movie like this.
Yeah, these guys are so stubborn and like prideful. They keep doubling down and quadrupling down. I mean, even I don't know. Even if quietly behind the scenes they're firing all these people, it's like you still pander and you still.
Well, you have the same people at the top, so it really doesn't matter if they're firing all these people. The people who really are responsible are all in charge with Kathleen Kennedy, Feige, and Iger, and so
right. So
unless that changes, which it won't,
right.
Forget it.
And that's if that's the executive level sponsorship you have. They're going to come in as executive producers and whatever and fuck it all up.
Yeah.
Or they're going to keep deferring to the same like dumbasses who've been fucking up the whole time. I don't know. Whatever. So I just thought it was funny because while I knew I was going into this movie and had a feeling I was going to enjoy myself and see a great movie, I was reminded of, oh yeah, this is all the shitty movies they're still pumping out. Like this is the stupid shit they're still producing.
Yeah.
Like simultaneously to this movie, like the only Marvel movie I've seen probably out of the last like 8 to 10 that they've come out with, except No Way Home. However many they've crapped out onto the screen, like in all the TV shows. Yeah, and this is like you're saying, it's a fluke. Or I wouldn't say a fluke, but it's totally disconnected.
It's an anomaly.
So,
whatever.
Yeah, anomaly.
It's.
So, like you would not have. This would not even be close to the same movie if Ryan Reynolds pretty much wasn't in control. So, yeah, and they definitely throw in as many cameos and fan service and ideas that I don't know. It reminds me of like more if I was watching like a Wolverine Deadpool anime, and I say that to say like in a lot of Eastern storytelling, it isn't super plot driven. Like people care so much about in the West. Like so many of these critics are like, oh, what's the plot? How does this relate to the plot? And like in the West, everyone's so used to being like, like, oh, this has to happen in this order, XYZ. But a lot of anime, and I guess they have the benefit of being based off a manga, which have a lot of volumes and long running story with multiple character arcs and all kinds of cool setups and payoffs or whatever. But it's so much more character driven. Like there's so many anime that's literally just a slice of life. Like fuck, Lich in the Kitchen is just a guy who wants to be a professional chef, and like shenanigans happen along the way,
Right.
So, but that's the thing. You care about you're invested in the character. You're just like, oh, I want to see what this guy's gonna do. He doesn't necessarily have to do something. Something doesn't have to happen to this guy. It's like, how does this guy react in this world? And the plot kind of comes about from all the different character interactions. And that's kind of, to me, is this movie. So when people are like, oh, it doesn't end, it's got 2 endings or whatever, I'm like, so who fucking cares? Like, okay, great. That was just like another 15 minutes to a half an hour. Whatever the act 4 and act 5 or whatever you want to call it, act 3 and 4. That's just more time I get to watch these 2 characters go on more of an adventure.
Yeah.
Like I don't look at it as that. I don't look at that as a negative. Sorry, critics, YouTubers, whatever. So, and this is where I'm obligated to say, oh, these people aren't real fans. because they're looking at it as just strictly like, oh, this is a movie. It's very formulaic. Oh, this is a movie. How does this fit into the MCU? How does this, does this matter?
I'm not even concerned about that. I just want to
Right.
have a good I know I have a certain level of expectation with these two characters because I know we all know them. And so as long as they stay true to those movies. Yeah, as long as they stay true to those characters and it meshes well, which I hear it really does, then I'm happy. I don't even care if there's a great plot or a great story, because I'm more drawn to the characters in a situation like this.
Right. Yeah, and it's not literally, the movie isn't 2.5 hours of like their Hot Ones challenge. You know what I mean? It's not literally Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman sitting around a table just dicking around. Like, it's still these characters, It's just they play them so well. They've been playing them for a while now. They know the characters in and out. So, and I think this is one of the few movies where, how people are like, oh, well, it's not like that in the comics. Like you said, they one of the scenes literally is like a homage to a X-Men, like a famous X-Men cover. So there's stuff in there where it's like, oh shit, someone on this production team has actually picked up a comic and read it, or done some like Googling.
Actually, from what I heard, there is a ton of Easter eggs for people who are very familiar with the old comics.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I hear. And I mean, I recognized, because they just kind of hung on it for a couple minutes. There's a Rob Liefeld reference.
Yeah,
it's they're in the city or whatever towards the end of the movie, and they're in one of the fights or whatever. I won't spoil it, but it's towards like the climax of the movie, and it's like Rob Liefeld's feet store. It's like a shoe store or something, and I was like, oh, that's so good. Like, he's so bad at drawing feet,
Oh yeah.
And like, if you're just like a normie moviegoer, you won't get that.
Yeah.
You won't get it because you don't know anything about the comic book. So not only do they like do pretty good service to the movies, the X-Men movies, but they do pretty good service to people who are fans of the source material. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I hear there's lots of that in there. So the people who made it were familiar with the comic, past comics, and people who created them, things like that. And so there's definitely fan service for comic fans, not just the fans of films.
Exactly. Yeah. So, yeah. Overall, I'd probably give it like an 8 out of 10. It's pretty happy.
Yeah. Oh,
I enjoyed it. I wouldn't want to see like a Deadpool Wolverine 2, but not because of the movie, like because it was shit or anything. Just because it's like, okay, cool. Here's their adventure. Tell the story. Move on. Like if
don't ring it out for everything it's worth. Just
don't make it into a franchise. Just fucking
challenge impossible.
Yeah. Well, a lot of times in the comics, like Deadpool has, I guess you'd call them spin-offs. Like it's definitely a spin-off of that character that isn't Deadpool, but maybe not necessarily the Deadpool run or whatever. But like he has adventures, or he gets hired to kill Wolverine, So like you could make almost an anthology series of Deadpool has a movie with Daredevil. Like I would watch that if you wanted to make a franchise out of Deadpool and X character.
And he's teamed up with Spider-Man from time to time.
Spider-Man, yeah.
There was a comic actually with the two of them specifically. I think it went like 20 issues or something. So.
Yeah, they have a bunch of interaction. I mean, like Deadpool and I don't know, you could have him do a movie with Thanos, and the God of Death, Lady Death. Like that'd be pretty fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
Like if they wanted to make,
and in the comics, so this is what Marvel's doing is they're killing Deadpool in the comics and replacing him with his daughter.
Right. Well, they're retarded too.
So way to take advantage of this, and it'll last 3 months and they'll bring him back.
And they announced it like opening weekend of the movie, didn't they?
Right.
It was like they just announced that. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, we know you guys are so excited to see the new Deadpool movie. So in the vein of Deadpool, we're go ahead and announce like, read the room, fuckers.
Like
read the
exactly,
fucking room.
we always criticize Marvel for not capitalizing on the MCU, right, and having tie-in comics. But okay, that's an oversight. This is exactly what you don't want to do. Like
Yeah,
this is
so stupid.
This is like, you're all jazzed up for Deadpool. Well, we're gonna replace him with his daughter, and if you don't like it, you hate women. And here you go. Even though Deadpool can't die because he was cursed by Lady Death or whatever, he was cursed that he can't die in the comics.
Yeah, yeah. It's just brain dead. It's like comically brain dead.
It is. It's ironic. It's funny. It's stupid. It's exactly why the industry is where it's at.
Yeah, and they deserve everything coming to them. So
Yeah.
I will say I was watching some videos recently, and I don't know, Kyle, William, you probably heard of this guy, the What If All Hist channel. Have you guys?
I don't think
know.
I've seen that channel. No.
Oh, okay. Anyway, so I was watching. I think it was one of his videos, but he talks about the modern era. And basically, the video is funny. It was like the what is it? The anthropology. He was saying it's an anthropology video, and it's like the anthropology of a Karen, and he's like, oh well, I'm gonna theorize why Karens exist in our day and age, because in the modern era, basically everything is like a bureaucracy. Like our whole society is very bureaucratic, and from like giant corporations to the giant government, like it subsists on itself. And when you have everything, everyone's so disconnected, and like no one owns anything. Like pretty much everyone used to be a small business owner and self-employed.
Yeah.
So like you'd own your own business, you'd have a small farm, you were like a whatever you did, you're a carpenter, like to all of your local community. Bear with me, I'm going somewhere with this. And so nowadays you basically work for a big company. You work for like a chain, like a McDonald's. You don't give a shit. Like you're not responsible. In fact, our society demonizes and tries to punish people for acting out their own agency, or like trying to take any responsibility or have any authority over anything. And so Karens exist in this environment. They flourished because if they go complain and ask for your manager, like the manager is going to like bend the knee to her every time and give her what she wants, because it's not like the manager of a Home Depot. It's not like he cares about the bottom line. It's not coming out of his salary. You know what I mean? And
you just
the company,
putting in hours. That's
yeah,
it.
yeah, and the company will take the hit and move on or whatever, and so these Karens or whatever are rewarded for that. Anyway, so part of the point he was making is that because this is what people are used to, they're so used to that they can't imagine. Like if you're in a bubble, or like people say echo chamber all the time for all these different ideological groups, you literally don't understand what it's like to have responsibility when your whole life is avoiding and avoiding liability or responsibility and putting it off onto somebody else, and like playing bullshit games, like completely feminized corporate environments. And like we always talk a lot about how these companies are so retarded and how the people are so disconnected because they try to replace Deadpool with his daughter, literally, as the new Deadpool movie is coming out and everyone's flocking to go see Deadpool. Like they cannot recognize that everyone only cares about Deadpool. Like they don't give a shit about Deadpool's daughter. It's because these people are so, like, literally they cannot fathom, they cannot understand why people wouldn't want to, why people, the average person, the average peasant, whatever they think about us, doesn't give a shit about their DEI shit. Like when we aren't Karens and we're not like, oh, put a female in it, like make her gay, you know, like they
Yeah.
can't understand. They're just like, oh, derper derper der, we have to do this.
Right,
Like
and it's not like they've never done it before with Wolverine and fucking
yeah,
Hawkeye.
but they
You
also
know,
don't. But they also don't. Right, but they also don't bear any of the responsibility. Like they just do it.
no, they
And
get paid nonetheless. They get
paid nonetheless. Yeah.
Yeah, well, they also do it, and they get the
So
reassurance that if it goes badly, they're just like, watch this because society needs to move forward, and everyone's a bigot. So they have they can be on their high horse, if it goes badly.
But I mean,
yeah.
you have to be
Well, yeah,
really
that's the
huffing your
virtue
own farts to
signaling.
realize that, when probably, this is the highest grossing Deadpool movie of all time right
And they
now
won't
as
get
we
it.
speak. Why not capitalize on that and really put it, because they put out some pretty good Deadpool comics even recently. I mean, here and there. Really put somebody on it good and just put out a kick-ass, 6-issue Deadpool run.
Well, yeah, Rob Liefeld came back, and he's
Yeah.
doing Deadpool. He's
Put it
doing
out
modern
there
Deadpool.
and because this people may come into comic shops and they're gonna want a Wolverine comic or a Deadpool comic, and they don't want Wolverine's daughter and they don't want Deadpool's daughter.
Right, so it's just an auto loss. Well, yeah, and that's but then the people on the ground level, like the retailers, the independent comic shops who actually have to give a shit about running their business, they don't put up with this shit. Like they don't put up with, dipshit corporate structures and some Karen coming in the shop and bitching about, where's like my all female Marvel MCU comics. They're just not going to carry new comics. Like they'll adapt. They'll just carry only back issues.
Yeah.
Which is what you see.
Some of those stores cater to people.
Yeah, but that's because they're a part of a chain. It's the same thing. Like they do that because they operate margins across the board. Like they don't care at the individual level. They're just moving all this shit around, or they use it. It's a loss leader to them. Like when I go into Coliseum of Comics, which is the biggest chain hands down in Florida, I don't buy fucking comics from them. Like, so if they get me, but if they get me to come in and buy something, you know what I mean? They're just like, oh, well, maybe they'll pick up a comic or whatever. They're, like a game store. They just have a bunch of investor money and they buy up local shops. And they have like collectibles, comics, games. So they're just like a geek shop, a generic geek shop, and they operate on the lowest margins possible.
I saw a interview with the owner of Mile High Comics, which is a very large store, and they have an online store as well. Pretty reasonable back issues as well, and the guy's been doing it like 34 years, and he just says he says like Funko Pops generate $1 million a year just with
exactly. They've moved on.
This whole article was talking about how comics this and comics that, but what nobody said, not him and not the interviewer, they never went to the issue of that current comics suck and that's why they're not selling. They did just completely danced around it.
Yeah, they have to avoid it because they have to keep pushing their bullshit. But they don't get punished. Like they haven't really gotten punished. You know what I mean? Like real consequences. No one's had to take responsibility for all this shit. And how? So I guess ultimately what I'm saying is we're always like, who's doing this? Like who's causing this thing? It's like all of these people that just they exist in this giant bureaucracy, of like a society that we live in. And so, yeah, they don't have to ever take responsibility for this shit. And so they don't care. And they just lie through their teeth. But then either they start believing their bullshit or they're just raised to be, they're dependent on the system too, right? Like they get paid, they need a salary. So to them, it's just like, okay, well, I just keep lying and I get paid for it. So whatever. No one's going to admit that it's, none of this no one cares about this shit. Until finally everything collapses because like they can't possibly cut their losses, and it's like they're not getting bailed out by other other bigger companies or the government or whatever, and then they'll just sweep it under the rug and be like, "Huh, the economy is really, really bad. I guess that's why we're all going bankrupt.
Yeah.
It's the economy. The
It's the
economy is
economy,
awful."
folks. People just aren't
Yeah, so,
interested in comics anymore. That's the thing. It's just a dying
yeah, exactly.
medium.
Yeah, exactly. They don't want comic. Then what's it's like? But ignore manga. ignore all that. You know.
Yeah, ignore
So
the
it's
32 manga shelves in a Barnes and Noble.
right, exactly. So I just thought it was an interesting. It's how it relates to comics because we talk about this a lot, and a lot of people talk about this, but it's just these people are literally disconnected from reality because reality is consequences and responsibility and like you having to deal with the harsh effects of fucking up, and these people just don't have to ever deal with fucking up like on a level where it affects them personally. So it's like they just literally are so disconnected from reality that they just don't care.
Yeah.
And like a lot of them are and a lot of them in the short run. I don't mean like a month, and I don't even mean like a year. I mean short run in like the sense of it could be like 25 years. Like how long has Bob Iger been just completely fucking up Disney, and yet he's getting paid literal tens of millions of dollars a year in like bonuses and stock options and shit. You know what I mean? Like in the short term, a lot of times these people get hooked up. So it's not only that they don't have consequences, they're rewarded.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, they fail upwards.
yeah.
Until it's
So,
it's not going to land home until they get clipped like we're seeing it in the video game industry, just the mass layoffs left and right, and there's more on the horizon. Studios shutting
yeah.
down because they don't have anything to fall back on. If their game fails, that's it.
Yeah.
You know?
That's what happens in the indie world. Like
Yeah.
if our comic doesn't do well and we don't promote it and try to make the best product that we can, right? And we're constantly hustling to sell books, we fucking fail. It's as simple as that. Like that's real competition. That's the real world. So yeah, I don't know. Anyways, the movie was good. I recommend it. If you're a fan of
Okay.
the X-Men movies, at least the good ones, right? Like, and
I
you're a fan
liked
of
I
comics.
liked pretty much 1 through I liked 1 and 2 a lot. I didn't hate The Last Stand as much as everybody else, but I understand why people
Yeah, it
hate
was
it.
okay.
I remember liking First Class.
Yeah, First
Yeah.
Class I enjoyed. I mean, I was a kid, so I wasn't looking at something super critical, but I'm pretty sure I enjoyed the first 3 original X-Men movies.
Yeah.
I don't really
X2 was brilliant. A lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember really hating anything. I mean, that was
And I
them. We
liked
had the
Days of Future Past was really good. I liked
Days
that a
of
lot.
Future Past. Yeah, I thought that was great. Um, in fact, that movie makes me want to go read the comic because I'm like, wow, if most people always complain about how it doesn't do the comic justice, like if the comic is even better than this movie, then I'm sure the comic's pretty fucking
I think in the
phenomenal.
comic though, it's Kitty Pryde that goes back in time or something like that.
Yeah, that is true. That's what I've heard. So instead of her sending Wolverine
Yeah.
through like some weird contrivance of her powers.
Which I still don't understand
So,
that, but I just let it go. You know?
yeah, you're not supposed to. All you're supposed to know is it's another Hugh Jackman Wolverine movie
Yeah.
with first class actors. Um, and another way they can reboot the movie franchise continuity. But yeah. Yeah, so if you're a fan of that and a fan of the comic books, and there's stuff I'm not saying about the movie because there are literally lines in the movie where they go, like I'll say one of them. The one of them at some point, Ryan Reynolds it's not Deadpool, it's Ryan Reynolds. Let's just be honest. He's like, "Holy shit, aren't you excited?" I'm paraphrasing, but it's basically like, "Man, like it's been 20 years and finally you get to see Wolverine in his costume." And or there's like a line where he's like, "Yeah, keep the mask on." You know what I mean? Like, stop taking the fucking mask or like that kind of stuff. So there's lines where he just literally is just saying, "Oh man." get your special sock out, nerds. Like this is this is the scene you've all been waiting
Yeah.
for. You know, like
Yeah.
he just like you know, I don't need to say anything about it because they say it in the movie. There's just meta lines like that. So you know, there's a meta line like you get like they showed in the trailer where he's joking about what Feige won't let them talk about, and like they don't want them talking referencing drugs, so they have like 15 euphemisms for cocaine. And I was like, we love doing cocaine. So stuff like that. It's funny.
Cool. Yeah, I'll try
so
to
I'm
get out
excited.
there this
I'm
weekend.
excited for you to see it. So I guess speaking of Marvel and comics and shit, I want to play this short video. It's super short, but I think it's pretty funny and interesting. All right, I should have set this up. See, folks, this is why we're amateurs. We're not a
That's
professional scripted show. We're all right, here we go. Am I sharing this? Yes. All right.
Yeah.
This comes in my feed from time to time.
Is doing something very controversial with it. Marvel's editorial staff is doing something very controversial with its new titles. Because the new practice at Marvel is that when you go to a comic book store and buy a new comic, the very last page of said comic will not be there anymore. It's going to be replaced with a QR code. And what the senior vice president of publishing and the group editor of X-Men, Tom Brevoort, said is essentially those pages are just going to be bonus pages, your coming soon pages.
It's great, William. It's your favorite guy, Tom Brevoort.
Oh God, I hate that.
The problem is that statement that Brevoort made is already being contradicted
Yeah, or in other words, it's a lie.
by the works that we've seen now. Because if you pick up Phoenix #1, if you don't use the QR code to get to the last page, you won't be able to finish the monologue that was started in the beginning of the book. Because while this is supposed to be the formal ending of the chapter with the to be continued line, the bonus page is clearly more narration. And to be quite honest, I already buy all of my comics digitally, so this doesn't really affect me as much. But when I see a QR code, I see somebody trying to harvest data off somebody. So if you pick up one of the new X-Men books in the coming months and you scan one of the QR codes, don't be surprised if you get a text message from Marvel letting you know that a new comic is coming out. Marvel.
Holy shit! I didn't even think about that. Yeah. I totally. I think I clicked off of this because I was already infuriated. I was already
it's like I'm pissed off enough now.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that they're harvesting my fucking data. But
I mean, there's a reason they're doing it, right?
Well, I mean, again, the obvious reason is they're trying to get you to go fuck off somewhere to a website or another subscription so you can read the whole book. They're literally trying to turn physical comic books into like a live service DLC model where they're starting to carve out parts of a book. You know, at first it's just little like monologues and bonus content, but eventually it's going to be like, oh yeah, we save so much on paper costs where you scan the QR code and you get like the second half of the book.
They're trying to train you. Yeah.
Yeah, they're just conditioning people.
But also the data's more valuable. They might make more money off your data than they make off of just selling the comic book, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, the both of those are awful. Like I can't imagine. Oh, speaking of which, if you check at the back of Hardly Heroes, there's a QR code to our website, and you save 15% or whatever. Anyways,
like just not how to do things. I mean, this is really. This is as bad as loot boxes in video games. And
do you imagine how pissed people would be if it was like by the end of the book of Hardly Heroes, it's like, oh, scan this QR code to see the
to finish the
exciting conclusion of like will they defeat the Etten? Scan here and go to our website. It's like holy
make
shit.
Make an account.
Oh my god, I'd be so pissed off if I picked up a comic book and saw that. Holy shit, like I'm already paying you for the fucking book. So so that's something Marvel Comics is starting to do.
Yay.
I'm almost jealous because I'm like, man, we should do this stupid shit. But then I know, like, well, in the long run, it's just gonna piss people off even more. But like in the short run, I'm sure
still buying comics while they're doing this deserves what they get at this point. If you're not going to stand up for it and you just, well, then that's just the way it is, then you're a fool. You deserve whatever happens to you.
Yeah. Well, you probably
this is just another reason I won't walk into a comic shop. This is yet another reason. Way to just kill
Could you imagine? Could you imagine? Because like Comixology failed. You know, like who's to say how? Like imagine getting any. How does this even work? Like, is the QR code? I mean, I'm not retarded. Like I know mostly QR codes are replicable, but what if it is like? What if you have to have an extra code? It's like,
what if you don't have a smartphone? What if you're somebody who, whatever?
But here's the point I'm making. Like, what if you pick this up as a back issue, assuming you even wanted to read a new comic book from Marvel, and you scan it? Like, what if the website gets taken down?
No, here's what you do. So you buy some of these comic books, you get like a sticker of your own QR code that is like a phishing scam, and you put it over their QR code, and then you give it back to a comic book store, sell it to a comic book store, whatever. Next person picks it up, scans the code, and you just like stole their identity.
Right. Sure, you could do that.
Yeah. I mean, people do that with like the parking QR codes. They'll slap their own QR code sticker over the sign.
Oh yeah, that's funny. I've heard about that.
Someone will fall for it.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to get many hits in a comic book, but yeah, you could do it along with the parking. Oh, fuck, reminds me I have to still move to Miami in like a month and a half. Speaking of scanning QR codes in parking lots. Oh man, I didn't tell you yet, William. We have to go to Miami, so I'm moving to like the LA of Florida. It's gonna be great. Can't wait
you're moving there?
Yeah. I'll tell you more offline. The specific details. I don't want to give away all my personal information.
Here's my address.
Online. Yeah.
Miami used to be great.
It used to be. I mean, the food's still good. That's what everyone says. You talk to them. Well, there's two types of people. There's people who actually live in Miami who all want to get the fuck out of Miami, and the people who visited to go like party on South Beach, and they're like, Miami's so fun. Oh, the food's great though. And it's like, yeah, but if you live there, you have to deal with awful traffic. It's a big city, so everything's fucking expensive. There's a bunch of crime. I'm sure I'm missing something.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, at least we have Cubans instead of Mexicans, so there's that. The food's better.
There you go, I guess.
I don't really like Mexican food. I love Cuban food. Holy shit.
Well, I like Mexican food a lot.
Peruvian. So someone just left. They're probably Mexican. Sorry. I had to say it.
I mean, I prefer Mexican food to Cuban food. So
really? 2v1.
Yeah. I'm
in the minority.
So.
Oh, well, there. Okay, you're biased then.
You know, I don't know if we even had.
What's an opinion? Of course, I'm biased.
I mean,
it really depends on where, because I think the best Mexican food is in Texas. Some might say Arizona.
Oh, I agree. Arizona and Texas for sure, best Mexican food.
Yeah.
That I will say there's a lot more in my experience. I've had a lot more shitty Mexican food than I've had. Like, I don't think I've ever had shitty Cuban food. Like, if I go to a Cuban place, I don't think I've had a shitty Cuban food experience, but I've had some really bad Mexican food.
We don't have a lot of Cuban restaurants that I'm aware of.
Yeah, I can't imagine. They all came to Florida.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, that just reminded me of that. But yeah, so I don't remember what we're talking about. I derailed the conversation.
Going to Miami.
I know, but I don't remember why I brought that up. Something about high cost or fucking shitty comic books or something. I don't know. So yeah, so Marvel's doing that. So I came across that video. I thought it'd be interesting.
So DC will probably follow behind.
Of course. Oh yeah, the parking meter scam. Kyle, that's what it was about. Yeah, so someone replacing the QR code in a comic book. That would be funny.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we got there. Sorry, but yeah, I saw that came across my shorts feed or whatever on YouTube, so I thought it'd be interesting to talk about because that's happening in comics in the comic world. And a lot of people don't talk about the scammy, stupid shit that these companies do. They'll just talk about like, oh, it's woke. Oh, they gender swapped and race swapped. But like, this shit pisses me off way more than any of that stuff. Because that stuff, I'm just not gonna read. But
well,
like,
even
if
like
this becomes
the variant cover shit was pretty scammy for stores.
yeah, that's true. That was pretty shady. But it's like a lottery. It's like they're like the Mr. Beast of comics. Is that too soon? But yeah, but that because if that shit becomes commonplace, if that's a common practice, just like in video games, holy crap, that's really bad for
What
the
if we just sell a
industry.
comic book where you just open it up and it's only one page and it's just a QR code?
They have
Why
to
are you
pay
buying
for it.
physical comics?
You know what?
Scan
This may
QR code.
And it's just like ha 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 ha.
This may force
all
people
over the
just to
place.
do digital then.
Yeah, just do
which
digital.
because most of us
Yeah.
we enjoy the physical media because there's something about
Yeah.
holding it in your hand and then collecting it and stuff. But at this point, if they're going to go in this direction, you're almost just if it was a good story and good characters, you'd probably be better off just going digital.
Yeah,
The story is just you go to the cash register and there's just a book. It's like a catalog, and then you just pick the book you want,
codes.
and it's just a QR code and you scan it, and then
It'd
you
be
go
a
home.
good easy way to collect the money for a physical book. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, fuck it. Why even have a register at that point? Just have
To
like
ease them out of it, you know.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
see. It'd be funny have like a really nice cover and you open it up. It's just a page. I almost want to do that to troll people.
And there goes
Kinda
comic
funny.
stores, except for back issues, which the
There
bubble
goes.
may burst on those someday.
Maybe. I mean, there's only so many back issues, so yeah, theoretically,
Yeah.
like
True.
it's like, but then you still have video game shops like GameStop, and like we have a couple locally here in Jacksonville that just have like used physical video games. So like it'll just become a niche. I mean, it'll continue to be the niche that it
It'll be
is.
more niche.
Yeah, it'll just be more niche. You won't. But I mean, that's the way it's going, anyways. This is just going to accelerate that because comic shops are closing left and right. So, I mean, what's new? It probably will. It probably will be like video games in the next 5 to 10 years. That's probably what that Brevoort guy or an executive. They just looked at video games and are like, how can we do what they're doing? Because if you remember, and I always wanted to do this, I think it's still a good idea. If you sell a physical copy of the book, then like you'd have a QR code or a little download card, but then it would be for the whole like the whole digital book. So like you could still get the digital book with the physical one. And then especially if you're buying like a super ultra limited run of like, oh, this is a 1 in 25 cover or whatever, you slipped a QR code or like a download card, then it's like, oh yeah, I'd have a digital reader copy. Like when I ordered Blade Devil, I was I don't think I think I opened the box, but I never actually took the physical copy out of the wrapper. I was like, oh, this packaging is so nice. It's so nice.
Yeah.
It's so good, and RGB did a really good job of like I'm jealous. That's how I want to model our volumes when we like ship them and do all the shrink wrapping and stuff ourselves. But future volumes, I should say. But I got the digital, the code obviously. So I tried reading off of that instead of the book because I was like, oh, I'm just gonna collect this. This is nice. So you could do it that way. Oh, that's a reasonable idea, to get people into reading although you do lose something, like you're saying, because if you have a very physical medium and like you just have it digitally, it's harder to in my opinion, like it's harder to appreciate all the art and stuff that goes into it because it's just a digital screen. Like you're not holding the page, you're not flipping it, you're just scanning over a computer screen or a tablet or whatever.
I mean, that can be like Luke says when he goes on trips, he has like a bunch of digital comics that he can look at, on a thumb drive or something like that. So
yeah, it's convenient.
it's convenient. But yeah.
But also, if I go like on a long plane ride, I'll just bring a trade paperback. I'll just bring like a volume or an omnibus and read that. So, in fact, that's when I get a lot of my best comic reading done. Is if like I travel for work or a convention a few times a year. That's not in Florida. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Someone's driving, great. I'll just read for like 3 hours. So, yeah, I don't know what to say to that, man. It seems like they're trying to do DLC bullshit, like they were doing, or like they're doing in video games.
Yeah, which is, I used to be a gamer. I'm not any. I mean, the only game I really play nowadays is Skyrim or some older RPG or something like that. But with the practices and the quality of games nowadays, I mean, forget about the ugly chicks and the wokeness, just the quality of the product, the bugs and what have you, and then it's unfinished and whatnot, and microtransactions.
DEI comes with a drop in quality, I think.
Yeah, I'm just not really a video game fan anymore. I have no desire to really buy new consoles or even upgrade my PC. Because I can find older games that were done the right way by the right people, and people actually cared and had the talent. And
I mean, one of the only games I bought in recent memory was, I guess, Elden Ring, Baldur's Gate 3. And those were surprisingly good for
Dragon's Dogma 2.
Oh, and Dragon's Dogma 2, yeah. But all those are, almost consider. I guess Elden Ring at this point is AAA, but Baldur's Gate 3 is and Dragon's Dogma are almost like, I don't know what separates AA from AAA, but they're like the quality of a AA game where there's an actual story and the game is well crafted and there isn't a fucking cash shop. Because like you're saying, in pretty much all major titles now, it's the quality is shitty. There's a cash shop. The games are very derivative. It's like Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 16. Yeah, it's just not really enjoyable.
No, and I think you have to look at the studios. Like Larian Studios has been making, RPGs for a while, and so they have it down. And
Larian's good.
And From Software, I mean, their gameplay is formulaic in a way, but the story was written by George R.R. Martin. So
that's true. Yeah, he was involved in that. Well, and the core mechanics are good. Yeah, I mean, the core gameplay is solid. But also notice that for the most part, I mean, obviously Baldur's Gate 3 you can play co-op, and like Elden Ring you can invade people's worlds and play but for the most part those are single player games. Like I pretty much stopped playing any multiplayer game because they've been completely destroyed by all that bullshit. You have like season passes and
battle pass and
cash shops and battle pass.
Make all the money.
Yeah, all that stupid shit. Well, yeah, I mean they do make plenty of money with that, but that means the core game it's just the quality is going to be way worse because literally why would you devote more resources and money to making a core game or making content for a game if you can just shit out a skin that some dev made in like an hour? You know what I mean? You're just paying them like hourly at that point to just crank out like skins
and people will buy it though.
And people will buy it. Yeah,
I don't even get mad about it. I only get mad when there's like, some kind of, it was like pay to win. If they want to release a bunch of skins and charge people money for it, like you're not losing anything because you're not buying the fanciest skin. Like, whatever.
Yeah, see, I used to think that way, but these games only have so many resources allocated to them. So, like, if you're going to, even if it's not pay to win, Like here, like I'll give you another example. So on some of these battle passes and stuff, like they actually cut content from the game. Like they're carving up content
just to give it later.
Yeah, just to have you pay more for it.
Well, yeah, DLC shit
So
where it's like content, like yeah, that's annoying. But when
yeah,
it's like, I don't
but
consider
even if it's
cosmetic
like
shit to be.
Yeah, but even cosmetic, like you're spending money on a dev creating those, and so just by definition, like you only have so much time and money to allocate to this game. So if you have people cranking out a bunch of skins, and the profit margin on those is like, 85% or whatever, you're just going to like that's going to become like 80% of your game.
That's true.
Or 20% is going to make 80% of, what I mean? It's going to be like the Pareto principle. So now the game is just not a priority. Like so I agree with you technically, but I disagree in the sense that like it does have an overall impact on the game. And that's why the quality of these games has just gotten worse and worse over the years, because they just don't care. And it's almost the same game. Like I don't know how people play like Call of Duty and Madden and FIFA, like those games anymore. Like, what's the racing one? The Formula One racer. Forza, like all those games are.
Well, that's
like,
terrible because they release a new game every single year, and sometimes it's like the
Just
game
an
gets
updated
worse.
roster.
The game gets worse, yeah.
Yeah, you're like, wait, so you cut features from this game? Like, why? Everything else is the same. Why did you get rid of something? Oh, and especially like
Yeah.
they're all going towards the Ultimate Team shit because it's basically like they make money off of it, so they'll like dumb down the franchise mode because they want to do Ultimate Team because basically you pay money for cards and that's the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean they've almost evolved to the point where they don't even have to have the like the what am I trying to say? Like the preface of, oh, they don't even have to have like the false expectation of like, oh, it's a new year, the new game's coming out, so it must, like, I expect this to have either new features or updated graphics or whatever. They're pretty much at the point where they're just like, download the latest patch and like
I mean, honestly, it's what it should be.
And that's your rosters. I mean, that's pretty much what it is. Like that. There's
except you
almost
to pay $60 for it.
Yeah, 70.
Well,
70.
but they almost cut out the pretense of like, this is anything else but an updated roster list, and yeah, you're just gonna pay us. I mean, they might as well, right? Like, just send me
a message.
Saying
that for years. I stopped playing Madden in the Sega Genesis. It became just too damn complicated. It turned into an RPG where it's like
RPG.
You create players and you can draft and you can make. It's like I just like the 3 buttons and the.
You should have played NFL Blitz with me then, my friend.
Yeah, that's something like that. That's what's fun. NBA Jam, like those were the games. Like I did.
Yeah, people like role playing as commissioners and team managers, though. So I don't blame them, but yeah, when you're starting to cut, so the game gets worse year after year. It is what it is. I mean, just don't buy those games, I guess. Like that's pretty much where I went.
And like I was a long time Guild Wars 2 player, and all the devs who made that game and did a great job, they're gone.
Yeah,
like all the people who made that game are gone, and now they've been replaced with DEI and idiots, and they call it fashion wars because all they do is sell skins, and they have this.
It's like a runway.
They have these expansion packs, and you almost have to have them. It's not necessarily pay to win, but it is because
it's just pay to play.
It's pay to play, but they have these specs, on the core classes that are simply, a lot of them are better. And so if you do any type of player versus player, you need access to those.
Oh yeah, I mean,
you're not going to be able to compete as a regular, let's say, warrior compared to a Spellblade or something like that. So
right, which functionally that becomes pay to win, yeah, because you're like, I mean, WoW was doing that when WoW started extending the level cap for like each expansion, so it wasn't just an area you went to go play in. It was like, I mean, this is subtle, but if you think about it, sounds like what Guild Wars 2 is doing, where it's like, okay, you can get this expansion, but if now you want to compete and play in PvP and guild stuff, like you're gonna have to get it so you can level up to like 70 and get the new epic gear, like whatever the gear level is, because you just can't use this because it's tied to your level cap.
Yeah, or the new spec basically had better abilities. So kind of like what D&D is doing right now with their new player's handbook. I take a fighter from regular 5th edition or a bard or whatever and try to compete against something out of this new player's handbook. I'm probably going to lose that fight, even though they're supposed to be compatible games, just because they've expanded on the classes to a point. I mean, everybody gets a feat right off the bat.
Speaking of which, yeah. Speaking of which, yeah. So, speaking of new D&D, I'm glad you brought that up. It's a good segue into a little poll, I guess, at the so I guess he was a previous lead for D&D, so he's not there. Oh, he's at Larian. Okay, makes sense. So he's still involved because he's still at Magic the Gathering, so he still works in and around with Wizards.
Okay.
But yeah, this guy posted this poll, of which it's got over 1,000 votes, and yeah. So are people going to buy it? Looks like no. people are saying no. Fuck you. Yeah, I'm not buying your new D&D to get this shit. Like, fuck it. I'll just play.
I never read the comments. That might be interesting.
Yeah, we could read some of these.
Yeah, I'm not going to be inflammatory. I mean, we've done enough. I think we spent enough hours just analyzing a few things, but
yeah,
no.
What about already have it? Oh, okay. Well, then that means you're buying it for sure. Yeah, I mean, D&D players, it's funny case study because D&D is like, D&D players are like the most conservative. People might not like that term because there's probably a lot of people who play D&D that are like, oh, fuck you. I would never be like right-wing conservative. But like, if you have something and you don't like change because you don't want to change to a new thing and you start to view that thing like you have conservative, like, congratulations, you have conservative values. You're a D&D conservative.
You're trying to conserve what was.
Yeah. You want a stable game environment. Like that's the foundation of like traditional conservative values. So this has already happened from like, this happens with like every D&D edition. This is even new. It's just kind of funny that a bunch of people are like, yeah, fuck you, we're not doing this. But like this happened with 4th edition. People are just like, no, like there's no reason. You can't really force us. We have the books, so we have the PDFs. Like that's the beauty of it. There's not really like a lot of social pressure. You're not gonna fuck with my console and make it obsolete. Like I could just continue, and D&D is infinite. Like there's no like, oh, I beat D&D, time to move to the next edition. No, you're just like, oh, I'm just gonna stay with the edition I like. We played it. We're gonna continue.
Yeah, I know
playing.
people who still play first. The D&D I grew up with. I did about back in 2008, 2009. We had a group, and we just played the first edition.
Talking with some guy.
And we had all the books. We didn't need anything. Tons of modules.
Yeah. In fact, all the old school guys that played back in the day, yeah, they still play. Like, who am I thinking?
Edition,
Tracy.
3rd edition is still probably the most popular. 3.5 is probably still.
Yeah, and people who like 3.0 and 3.5, they just play Pathfinder, and a lot of them now are probably playing Pathfinder 2nd edition. So, and now there's the Kobold Press fantasy tabletop RPG. There's the guy who left Wizards to make his own. Critical Role even is coming out with theirs if they don't already have it out. What's another one?
Ooh, but they've been doing collab stuff with D&D. So is that like
they have, but they stopped?
Ooh,
yeah. Remember, because even Wizards was like, okay, well, they're like threatening to sue Matt Mercer or something.
Oh.
Like, yeah, okay, well, fuck you. You're not allowed to use all our stuff in your Vox Machina or whatever anymore.
Which is really stupid thing by Wizards of the Coast, because that was good free advertising. I mean, Critical Role got a lot of people interested in D&D.
There's a bunch of newbie normie people in D&D now because of Critical Role. Like Dungeons and Dragons is like a household name. I mean, there's so many people who we meet when we go to shows or just basically any event we go to sell comics. All we have to do, I don't have to get into the specifics of the story most of the time. I literally just say, hey, this book is based on our D&D campaign, or I say Dungeons and Dragons. People go, oh, okay, cool, yeah, I know. And like a lot of those people don't even play the game. They just know like, oh, Dungeons and Dragons is like fantasy. It's like a nerdy nerd game, role playing, right? Like,
nerdy nerd.
Yeah. Like, remember Kyle? There's people Kyle knew who came up to us this past weekend when we were at a show, and like I knew as soon as we started explaining it to them, like they've never played D&D in their lives. But they were cool. Like it wasn't like awkward or anything. But I did warn them. I'm like, I mean, how deep do you want me to go into this explanation for you?
Yeah.
And kind of had to like give them shorthand explanations of stuff that we're playing in the campaign we're in now. But it's like so synonymous with like role playing games that people know about it, and a lot of that was because of Critical Role.
Yeah, in recent years, absolutely. I heard I was talking with a friend of mine, the old D&D guy, and he's looking at the artwork for the new player's handbook. We've gone over that. He goes, there is nothing about this, or I said, there's nothing about this that's medieval satanic like we grew up with, And he says, yeah, it looks pretty gay. So it might be the most, he said, in reality, it might be the most satanic version of D&D ever produced.
Unironically, yeah.
Grandma's like, bring Satan back.
Yeah, ironically. Yeah, not the fucking boomer Satan.
Yeah.
Satanism, like literal Christian Bible Satanism. That's funny.
Yeah. That was a good thing. But yeah, there's nothing like medieval. There's nothing like a Dio album cover about any of that art,
Yeah.
Everybody's like singing and having tea, and
it's a literal tea party.
It's a short rest.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, Kyle, you didn't see it. We were you hopped off before, but yeah, we were looking at another video and they were going through the book and they had some new art, and it was just like literal tea party. People were just hanging out in a tent, like just wander. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely serving,
Heroes Feast. Okay.
Yeah. So, but
ritual cast.
Not the one you think though. Like when you think of Heroes Feast, you think of like Game of Thrones, like like Vikings, or like you just slayed a dragon. So you're in like a giant hall. You're like, oh, this is a feast.
Yeah, I mean, you look at past artwork at D&D, it's just, and you compare it to this with all the pastels and the pastel colors, and everybody's just getting along and
cartoony.
Like, I don't think I saw any of them where they're like killing something.
That's interesting.
No one's killing anything here. This sucks.
No, but in D&D in the past, it was always the monster, and then there was the party against the monster.
Oh man, I gotta find it. I gotta find it. I should have saved it. So I was you get like recommendation for articles and stuff on my phone, and one of the articles, oh man, if I pulled up the picture of them, it's exactly who you'd expect, like some purple hair creature or whatever, and the article, the title of the article was like, this the new D&D. It's it something about the art, but it was like it no longer reads like like a dictionary. Basically, they're trying to
Yeah, I think I
insinuate
saw
that,
that.
like, yeah, like that it's all art now. Like the art flows so well, and it's just a bunch of pictures for babies. It's like, oh, it's not like like their idea of like an encyclopedia or a like Webster's dictionary is just like, the fucking mechanics of the game. But these people are so retarded that they need a bunch of picture books. And this is ironically someone coming from someone who makes comic books. Like they need literal picture children's illustrations.
The
so
pictures
they
are
can,
just supposed to be for fun. The pictures don't really ever mean anything to the mechanics, really.
yeah, the whole point of the original D&D booklets didn't have much art at all. It was just,
I guess inspiration for
game
like
rules.
role playing stuff. Like, oh, that's what an
Yeah.
elf looks like.
Yeah, that's right. That's what it became over time. It was like, oh, we're gonna showcase, this awesome art from by these talented artists, and yeah, like here's the idea of what this spell would look like if, here's what a fireball would look like in a dark room. But it was to illustrate like, oh, here's the mechanics of an AoE spell effect, or like here's what a female human barbarian looks like or something. But yeah, cool. Yeah, here's the picture of this monster, so you know what's gonna wreck you.
You mean the monster manual was filled with that, and they would always show characters.
Hi, Kyle.
All right, see you later, Kyle.
See you. I gotta start having him do an outro.
Okay, yeah.
Kyle had to hop off. Anyways, go ahead. That's the monster manual.
Oh yeah, the monster manual would have numerous pictures, and it always helped. They'd always have a description, if it was something uncommon, but then they always usually had a picture as well to accompany it, just so you had an idea.
Yeah, and the player's handbook and Dungeon Master Guide was fairly heavy. Like, it was, I'd say, pretty majority just rules and mechanics and tables and math, what you need to play the game, the rules of the game. Yeah, the monster manual, I assume internally it made sense that they started having more and more artists work on the monster manual because it was a really good way to help the designers come up with these creative monsters and these creatures. It was like, oh, what does a beholder look like? Well, I imagine it would be this weird floating thing with like different eye sockets popping out, and each eye socket like shot this incredible magic high level ray spell. So one of them was like an anti-magic field. So you really had to focus and strategize how to kill this thing. It was like, oh, cool. So they hire talented artists. It's like, hey, I'm a writer, like us. I have this cool idea for a monster for this fantasy setting game we're working on. Draw this, like bring my vision, and they did, and then that's how you got all the great art that was in there. Because for the most part, the only art was the cover of the book or like the module, and everything else was basically, like stuff you could do in Excel sheet or CAD, because it was like a dungeon. So it's like, okay, here's how the Tomb of Horrors is laid out. And it was like a little map, and you'd have a key and a legend. But it wasn't an artistic rendering of a map. It was like, here's a grid.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we used a lot in those days when we made our own, is we would just get graph paper, 1 square equals whatever. And then we would that was the fun of it, is we would just make these dungeons and make rooms where things are. And again, we were kids, so half of it didn't make sense. You're just in this maze-like dungeon. You come into a room and there's a thing you have to fight, and there you go.
Yeah, but that was cool. You're using your imagination. So it's kind of sad. So that they're like the fact that the article is coming out, they're really telling on themselves. They don't know that what they're saying is sad and pathetic. Because in their mind, they literally think like, oh, it's so great that there's so much art in this book, and there's such less words. Like there's so many fewer words. It's like, yeah, that's because you're dumb.
Yeah.
You're stupid. And you can't read. You're illiterate. Like all these so-called educated people writing, and they can't fucking read.
No.
It's,
Well, they don't read.
funny.
People don't
No,
read.
they don't. They don't. But like specifically these people, like they have a college degree probably in some like political science or philosophy or psychology, and it's like they actually can't fucking read. Like they're functionally illiterate. You know, if you ask these people like, what's the last book you read? You know, what's your favorite book series? And if they did, it's like, you know, Harry Potter or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, or some young adult romance novel.
Twilight or some shit.
Yeah, like shittily written, you know.
Well, I mean,
books,
look,
horrible
they're dumbing down video games, or they're dumbing down tabletop. I mean, they just are.
Yeah, but I miss when actual nerds did this shit, because nerds who do this shit used to be smart. You know, I say shit a lot, but like, a lot of us are pretty well educated, and I say that in the classical sense of the word, not the corrupted, like, you know how people nowadays say, well, when people say, people nowadays say you need to get educated, they literally just mean like you need to get indoctrinated.
Yeah,
it's so fucking annoying, like basically speaking a different language from these retards. Like they've just redefined so many words. You're basically speaking a totally different language.
Well, we were talking about, me and a buddy were talking about this, because in the 90s we played a game called Rollmaster, which everybody calls Chartmaster, and it really is involved. It's very, very, very detailed. Take you an hour just to make a character, and it takes a very high reading level and math level to run it. I mean, it makes third edition look like fifth edition. It's that crunchy.
Nice. Well, that's not calculus, you know.
Yeah,
that's not actually. Go ahead. Sorry.
A game like that would never fly today.
No, of course
would not sell. They would have to streamline the rules and dumb it down. I don't even think third edition would really fly today.
But that's no, because you have Pathfinder second edition. So
that's a streamlined version, though, compared to 3.5. Is it?
Not from what I've heard. No, not from what I've heard.
Okay.
Yeah, it's. I mean, if it's like first edition was basically 3.5.
Right.
And from what I understand, second edition they just have a lot more like build options for your characters, and there's still a lot of combat modifiers and stuff. So it's you know, I don't know, somewhat it's all relative, but compared to fifth edition, it's a lot more complicated from what I've heard. So I would like to play at some point, even if it's just like a pickup game. Maybe if I go to like the local game shop here, just say like, hey, is anyone running, you know, Pathfinder second edition? But yeah, no, shit used to be more complicated, and we're not even talking about like calculus level math. We're talking about like a lot of you know, basic arithmetic.
Well, there was a barrier to entry.
But yeah, even that is too much math for the average normie dipshit, you know.
Yeah.
That can't handle. That needs art. Like, obviously art's nice, guys. I'm not just shitting on art itself, but the point of this conversation is how they have to have a bunch of pictures of tea parties and like some steampunk warlock in a wheelchair for them to be like, oh, now I can play this game because I see I see myself in this game, you know.
Yeah,
it's just more of that shit. So what are you gonna do? But yeah, a lot of people these days who are involved in making these games are actually really dumb. So if you're wondering why a lot of this stuff is being watered down and the quality's worse and it's getting worse and worse because, again, bureaucracies are the antithesis of,
Creativity.
meritocracies. Yeah, creativity, meritocracy, competition. The highest value is not, people who are passionate or people who can do something well.
No, it's not making the best product. It's making a product and then saying it's the best and, gaslighting.
Yeah,
people.
the gaslighting is infuriating.
That's why
too.
I really like Robert Schwab and his products because he worked on 5th edition. He worked on Warhammer. He's a lifelong RPG.
Yeah. You're only going to find. That's Shadow of the Demon Lord, right?
Yeah, and the Weird Wizard.
That's what I was referencing earlier. Yeah, like when I was saying the guy who left Wizards or whatever. Yeah, you're only gonna find that kind of stuff now. I mean, the blessing though is like, the quality of smaller companies like AA, indie, whatever in whatever hobby you're into. The blessing in disguise, the silver lining is that the quality of that kind of stuff has risen dramatically in the most recent years because you have a lot of these people leaving their studios, like the big companies that are just giant, uh, soul sucking bureaucracies of people who can make any kind of creative decision in their life, like who are completely incapable, and people who are actually really dumb and aren't intelligent and aren't good at designing anything, completely uncreative, the bean counters, if you will, but can't solve problems.
No,
so
because they never had to work their way up to anything.
Yeah, they never had to solve their own problems. I mean, they're always dependent on somebody. Like they're all, part of the managerial class, if you want to call them, like the quote unquote
Middle
status.
management.
Yeah, well, I would say like the academic college graduates, like they never had to be self-sufficient. They always been told what to do since they were children into adulthood, into deficient adulthood. Like they literally just been told and basically how to think their whole lives. So they haven't had to do much problem. There's not a whole lot of problem solving if everyone's constantly eliminating like any kind of struggle or adversity, or you having to think for yourself, or like, God forbid, suffer any kind of like real world consequences. So, but yeah, so the silver lining is like, because it used to be, you'd see like indie stuff or you'd see whatever, and like aside from a pretty niche underground audience, you're like, okay, well, I'm not really familiar with that. They like a lot of these. I should say a lot of us guys, like we don't have the social proof. We don't have like millionaire investors and a bunch of accolades from the comic industry. So we don't have like people constantly shoving us in your face, telling you to eat the shit up. Our stuff isn't shit. I wouldn't call it that either. We actually we care a lot about what we make, and so like the quality of indie stuff, it's funny. Like the quality of indie stuff seems to be like inversely proportional now to the quality of like as mainstream stuff gets worse and worse, like indie stuff goes up because it's cheaper to make a lot of the entertainment and art.
Well, and a lot of the talent that has left the major companies is doing indie stuff, and
and you can crowdfund stuff now. You can get in front of an audience. It's a lot
like
easier.
Wizards, they laid off a lot of people who have had a lot of experience in making RPGs, so I can see a lot of them working on their own.
Or they left.
Yeah,
they just straight up left. They didn't wait. They didn't wait around to get terminated or fired or laid off. They're just like, fuck this. This shit's gay. I'm out. So, I mean, yeah, it's scary. Like you actually have to get out and put yourself out there, but And if you know what you're doing or you have the experience, or even if you don't have a lot of experience, if you're willing
If you
to
have a passion, like if you know,
if you're willing to figure out your own shit and study and learn some skills.
I mean, the thing about RPGs is that every RPG can be broken to a certain extent, at it maybe at a certain level or a certain thing. And as a player, you find the cracks, and then you can also say, well, this is, if it didn't have this, or if it didn't have that, or if it had, we all do that with every game because there's no perfect system. But that's an opportunity for you to come up with a system that doesn't have those cracks, and put it out there. See what happens.
Well, yeah, and I'm not even talking about role-playing games at this point. I'm talking about any entertainment art industry.
Yeah,
like video
that's
games.
one of the reasons I did Mercenary Guild. That's something I want to read. Nobody's making something I want to read.
Yeah, comics, video games. What is stories? Short story. Like you have Substack now. You could.
Yeah.
There's so many ways to do independent anything. Animation. Like if you learn how to do animation, holy shit, you can make a lot of money. Whether you put out your own stuff or do stuff for other people. Anything. I mean, everything's out there. Like there's never been a better time. Like there's never been a time where we have the tools that we have now to do. You just have to you just have to do it. You have to get off your ass and learn stuff and take some responsibility, And if you put something out and it's dog shit, well, hopefully you learn from your mistakes, you take the criticism, you don't be so arrogant that you're just like, no, you remember, oh yeah, I'm still learning. And then hopefully you haven't spent so much time and money on something where you put it out, you can go back to the drawing board and improve it.
Yeah.
And then you get better and better. I mean, that's assuming you're more on the amateur level. Like us, we don't have decades of comic book history under our belt. So we're figuring this shit out too. I mean, we figured out a lot of stuff in a short amount of time. But that's just because I'm willing to go out and solve problems. William and I, as on Mercenary Guild, are like, sit down, we figure it out, we have references, but if we run into a problem, okay, how are we going to solve this?
Yeah.
Like we were talking about, some stuff before we went on stream, just like behind the scenes of making of the book compared to other indie guys who are coming out with stuff right now. And it's like some of the stuff is, these guys got to be careful, like where they throw their stones, because some stuff is like really poorly written. Even if the art's good, like they may have spent a lot of time on the art, but they sure as shit don't know how to write a fucking story to save their lives. Some people
come
have
across quite a bit of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Some people have a lot of backing, but they constantly avoid any kind of criticism, and they're bad at writing, and they're only getting a little better as they find competent artists. So it's like, they have to take a lot of flack publicly before they improve, or they're forced to improve by their sales numbers. So, but at the end of the day, you have to be willing to do that stuff. You have to be willing to put in the time and work and find creative solutions. Like for Mercenary Guild, like one of the creative solutions we had to figure out was like, okay, we only have so much of a budget for this book, we don't have all the money, and we want to come out with
can't make a 96-page book,
Yeah, but we also wanted to do a book. We didn't want to crowdfund it and then have the book come out 3 years later.
Yeah.
So there's trade-offs for that. Like there's so many trade-offs where it's like, okay, well, we don't have all the money in the world to come out with the best option, like some people, and we also want to come out with something that comes out earlier than 3 or 4 years, because we need to start making money off of it. We don't have the luxury of like people waiting. We have to come to market with a product. So you have to make the best possible thing you can with so many pages, under a certain amount of time. So with all those variables, like you just do the best you can. So there's trade-offs, but even getting to the point where we have to make those decisions logically, like conscious decisions, you have to know, and you run into a lot of hurdles. So I don't know, but it's, to me, none of this has ever really not been fun. Like I can't really say I had a single day. The only time I don't have a good time is if I waste time going to a shitty convention, and it's not even about not selling stuff. I mean, obviously we want to make money, we're running a company, but not even getting to interact with people who are passionate about the thing I'm doing. Like, that's a complete fucking waste of time. That's the only bad time I have doing stuff like this. Like, I have bad times where I do something and I feel like I wasted time, and that time could have been spent better, like getting on an art call with Luke and William, or like catching up on some portion of Hardly Heroes, like some kind of multimedia that we're not doing, or like researching other shows and events, like stuff like that, like editing videos for this fucking YouTube channel. Stuff like that. Like, that's the time I'm like, oh, fuck, God, I feel so bad. Other than that, I can't really think of a single bad time. Maybe like having to hire a new artist because we were set back like several months on one that didn't work out. Maybe, but even then, it's like, but then there's opportunity costs, but then at the end of the day, we find a better artist and move on.
Yeah.
So it's like a very short-term pain for like a really, really good long-term gain. Like, really good. So that's probably the biggest hurdle. But yeah, so it's...
And you have access to a lot of people. I mean,
at this point,
you have a wider network than you had a few years ago.
Oh yeah, exactly. And then but our network expanded because we got out there and we met all these people, and unless everyone secretly thinks that we're a bunch of assholes, which might be the case if they watch this YouTube video or something. But I don't know. Unless like people like engaging with us because there's results. Like, they see us out there and they see us hustling books and coming out with new issues and developing new books. There's something there. So people are like, "Oh, hey, how's it going, guys? Like, what are you working on?" Like we had a guy come by the local arts market that we were doing this past weekend, and he's just like, "Oh, hey, how's it going, guys?" I'm like, "Hey, man, hey, nice to see you again." Like, I assumed he, bought the book earlier, saw it at this convention. And he's like, "Man, I remember 2 years ago when I came by, I think I picked up like the pre-order issue or issue 1. And you just had a table and a handful of copies of the book. And you're still here 2 years later, and you've got all this stuff, because we had like the rack set up with all the different, cover art, cover A, B of like 9 issues or whatever. So we pretty much fill up this sizable comic book rack. And he's like, "Oh, and you guys got graded books now," and because we're not shitting them out like some people.
Yeah.
So it's like an actual mark of achievement when you're like, yeah, you can actually have the funds to get this book graded. Like, I don't take that for granted. So to get to be able to do that. Anyways, I'm not trying to brag. I'm just saying, like, it's nice to have people who come by and recognize that. But that's only the case because there's a lot of stuff that we had to figure out and learn. It's not like I knew all this stuff going into it.
No, just figure it out as you go.
But I did know that I didn't know a lot of stuff. Like, I knew enough to know, okay, there's a lot of shit I'm gonna have to learn. And as long as we're having fun, then it's not gonna be an issue. As long as it's it's still enjoyable to learn and figure the stuff out. And, it's not boring. I have to say, it's definitely not boring yet. So
no, not yet.
It's
been a learning experience for me too. So
in fact, every new thing, there's like a new, even like new issues. There's something I was thinking about the other day. I think it was what was it? Oh yeah. So the Blood on the Bayou book. There's another writer artist team that we're working with, and it's we finally have the script done. Like I had Phantasm go through, and he's reviewed everything, and the writer's just like finalizing a handful of little things here and there. But he got with the artist, and they have their contract done, and they're, I believe, starting thumbnails and art this week. Oh shit, I gotta set up the folder for that. So it's not another situation where someone else owns it and accidentally deletes it, not naming any names. See, even that's a learning curve thing we had to figure out. But like something I thought about that I didn't have to think about before, because I'm still gonna be involved, like meeting with them and reviewing stuff, but like this is one of the first situations where like they can actually meet up in person because they're in the same city, because they've known each other like longer than I've known them, and so they can just meet every week and knock out as much as they want, like hanging out, doing all the storyboarding and thumbnails, the artist knocking stuff out. And so I'm not going to be there in person, but I'm like going to get on calls with them, like we have our calls for Mercenary Guild. And so even that's like a new learning experience, because it's like, okay, how can I work with them and make sure that they're on track if I'm getting on the phone with them, like every couple weeks or whatever, and but then they're knocking out a bunch of stuff in person, like I feel like I'm left out. I'm like, oh shit, I want to be I want to be involved. I want to hang out with you guys and do this. So I'm like, oh shit, I want to do more. I want to be there. But something I had thought of that I didn't think of before, that's just naturally like, oh yeah, duh, this is something I have to think about now, is so if we've got like multiple artist writer teams, like, and obviously I want all of you guys to go out and promote the stuff that you're working on, like it's your baby too. I want you guys to continue being passionate about that stuff, and go spread the good word of Mercenary Guild or Blood on the Bayou or Harley Heroes or whatever. And obviously mention Shattermare. But yeah. But something I think about before is, now we're at the point where we're going to be technically licensing our assets, right? Because say Luke goes to a show and he wants to sell Mercenary Guild prints. Well, up until this point, or the artist for Blood on the Bayou, whatever, up until this point, the only stuff that we have is all Harley Heroes stuff, and it's me and Kyle, and we're owners of the company. So there's not really a situation where it's like a third party, effectively. Obviously, they're not like a complete stranger, but someone where they're going to have like their own square or point of sales or whatever. You know what I mean? They're going to be making independent sales and doing sketches and stuff. Like, okay, well, what's the best way to facilitate getting them art prints of the covers or the books? Because Harley Heroes, I just have all this stuff. I just have it. I don't ever have to think about it. I'm like, okay, what are we going to bring to a show? Okay, well, we need, 10 more copies of issue 8. And I need to get prints of these 3 issues. Like, I just get it and I have it. I'm not getting this stuff and then delivering it to somebody or like sending them home with 50 art prints for them to sell at shows or you know what I mean. So that's like a whole other level tier of managing this company that we naturally are getting there. And it's not that I didn't think about it, but you don't really think about you don't internalize it until you're at the point where you're coming you're coming to that like fork in the road and you're like, oh, I have to actually think about how to manage all of the merch that these people are going to have.
Right.
It's like my children going out into the world. Like I have to make sure they all don't leave home without your Bible.
Yeah.
You're all gonna go out and spread the gospel.
That's how it works, though. That's how we get bigger.
Yeah. I'm super fucking excited to get these other properties out and grow and continue doing awesome things and building new stuff and IPs and all the fun comics that we're doing and graphic novels and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I had to talk to the artist about like, hey, this is how I'm not sure, we would talk about her workflow or whatever, but same thing as Luke, like, hey, these are all the source files I want. Like, this is what we want to. And I told him, like, if we do animation someday, like, be pretty fucking sweet to do an animated mercenary guild.
Yeah.
So
shit.
But that's the stuff I'm thinking about. And I don't know if they thought about it. That's stuff I think about.
I think about merch. I think about T-shirts and hats and
yeah. I mean, we've got all that set up because we do it for
I would like to do animated, but again, depends who we work with. It depends what the deal is. I'm not gonna just take any first offer where they want control or ownership or
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know if you've seen that Batman animated thing they came out with, that Abomination.
Oh, the Cape Crusader or whatever.
Oh, good Lord.
But I also heard the show itself isn't that bad. But
well, I mean, if you like race and gender swaps all over the place and him really not being the main character for like the first 3 episodes.
See again, that's what would piss me off is like at this point I kind of don't really care about the race and gender. So yeah, it's super lazy. Yeah, it's insulting. Yeah, whatever. The list goes on. But like, if I'm watching a story about Batman, who they're obviously not going to race and gender swap because they only do that with side characters that don't really matter that much. But and it's all superficial. But like, if he's not even the main character, then why am I even watching this Batman show?
No.
What's the point? So that's kind of the. But yeah, so like, that would most likely be us working with people or an animation studio.
Yeah.
Like it wouldn't, I mean, cross that bridge when we get there, but I guess you could try to option it off to another studio or whatever. But in my mind, it would be like, okay, here's a studio that I've seen. They come out with quality stuff. Here's, what's the number? Like, give me a quote to do an animation of this. And then we go from there or whatever. So it wouldn't be like we're not really licensing it out to a company. Like there's really no control they have over it, except we're still
cross that. We'll cross that bridge if we ever get there.
Yeah, if we ever get there. But that stuff to me, just thinking about it, is very exciting. The possibility of that, and one step at a time.
I mean, there's got to be somebody out there who wants to create something with new IPs. Because all this rehashing and I don't know anybody that really likes it, to be honest. I mean,
yeah, it just takes one person or
so but if there aren't IPs out there, then they have nothing to work with. And
right, that's true. Yeah, I mean, we'll probably come across, I mean, I kind of have already, but like we're saying, it's not something that's feasible right now. But yeah, I'm sure there's a fledgling studio out there. It's like they just got their boys together and they're like, we're semi-pro professionals, but we make good stuff, but we need the opportunity. and we want to work with people who are doing new IPs, and we find them and we go, okay, great, we like your stuff, let's do it. And we work with them. We have all the voice actors, we hire them ourselves. We create our own little production studio. So it's not like we're just giving someone the IP who doesn't give a shit, who frankly doesn't care and is disrespectful. It's like, no, this is another, production by us, the people who created the characters in the story. So anyways, but that's the stuff I think about. But it's it's exciting to take the next step and kind of branch off. But again, that's something I have thought about, but didn't realize. Oh yeah, but now it's happening, and now I'm realizing. Oh yeah, so there's just stuff you constantly are learning all the time. That was my original point. So people just can't be afraid of that. You just got to dive in. So that's my soapbox. Getting on my soapbox now.
Okay.
So.
So you said you have to log pretty soon, or shortly after Kyle, or
yeah. I was going to see. Is there anything else that we want to? Trying to see if there's another video or something that we want to watch that we could finish, maybe before 11. Do we ever watch the Bloodruth #1 trailer, the cover review? I guess the cover's already been revealed.
No.
Do you want to watch that real quick?
Yeah,
I got that
let's
queued
do
up. All right. For some reason I lost my screen share. There we go. Can you guys see this? Okay, cool. So this is one of the latest books coming out, I guess. Legit. Oh, no, it's just cover 1. Sorry. I was going to say, hopefully this is Kanan White is actually doing the art for this book, but it looks like it's just cover A. But this is Bloodruth by the Rippaverse.
Honestly, that's his best trailer yet.
Yeah, right?
Seriously, like that.
No, I agree with you. No animation, no shitty live action.
Yeah,
just simple.
Show the artwork.
Yep.
Show okay, and that artwork looked all right, and the music kind of matched the dark. That's his best trailer yet. That's what he should be doing with all of his trailers.
I totally agree, and it's simple, like it gets you excited, because if he's just gonna put together really bad, I shouldn't just say really bad. Let me actually think about what I'm trying to say. So the other trailers that I've seen, including like the Good Gang, there's really nothing there that informs you about the character or the world. You know what I mean? Like it's just kind of a very vague, like obscure, like, oh, okay, I guess this guy's like a firefighter, and that so far has been the one with the most information. Like, let's not even talk about like the multiple Yaira trailers, where you're like, okay, this either gives me really little to no information, super convoluted, or it actually makes me think something totally opposite about this character because I have to infer everything about Yaira. So I'm probably getting the complete wrong impression of what you want me to think about this character. Just give me no information and just give me cool art, and then put some cool theme music in the background that makes me think, okay, this is probably gonna be like a horror book. Done. That's all you need.
Yeah.
And this trailer is 38 seconds, like not even
teaser,
40 seconds. Yeah. This little like, this little transition blood effect, like that's great. He just shows her abs like 6 times. That's fine.
Yeah, I mean,
shows.
I think when you do a comic trailer, you should really try to show the actual art of the comic. If you do a movie trailer, you should show the movie. If you do a video game trailer, you should really show the game. So I think he finally, at least a light went off in his head, and it's like, I'm going to show the comic. I would like to see a little bit more art, or maybe do a voiceover, kind of like we did, about what is Blood Ruth, but I don't think he probably has Blood Ruth figured out.
Yeah, I don't think he does, and they might not even have interior pages. So this is fine. Like if you don't,
but yeah, this is a fine teaser.
Or if you're incapable of doing that stuff, this is fine. Like just leave it at this,
Yeah, this is the best thing he's done. The best promotion he's done so far.
The only problem I have with this is the track record of the people who are doing it. Because if I scroll back down here,
you see people. Because I missed some of those names because it goes by so fast.
Oh,
Sasuke's sister, see, they're good. It's gone in a heartbeat.
Right, so that's the problem I have with this. These 2 names right here.
Sasuke's sister.
I don't know who these people are.
I don't know who Michael Montanot.
Yeah, but I know who the Sasukas are, and I know what they've done, and their track record with Rippaverse is fucking awful. So it's like, and
but just the art I see is okay.
Well, the art's Kanan White's cover.
Oh, okay. Well,
that's all. Yeah, that's all you see is the cover art. So you don't see interiors. You don't see. Yeah, I mean, you don't really see much else. So, and again, going back to the problem I have, which is that if your customers are dropping like flies and they're not buying your stuff, and you don't have enough self-awareness to be like, okay, well, maybe we fucked up and did some stupid shit, or the people that we have doing this stuff is they're not good at their jobs. Okay, sure, fine, don't fire them, but at least have the courage to say to people, your customers, hey, I understand that you didn't like that book. I'm working with these people, and please check this out. Give us another shot. This is going to be good. Like if you said that, because now I'm looking at this and going, I mean, the teaser's cool, the cover art's cool, and I'm not going to go into her powers and like the blood and make like period blood jokes or whatever.
Yeah.
But I look at this and I'm like, okay, well, I can't give this a fair shake, and I don't want to buy this book. Like I'm probably not even going to wait till the reviews come out to see what other people say about it. Even if they read through it and go, yeah, this is a lot that, I'd probably just go, oh, yeah, okay, whatever. Because they fucked up so bad in the past and they refuse to, say anything about making it better, or putting in the effort, or improving. So it's like, okay, well, I expect more of the same then. And I watch a couple different people do reviews of that book. Like people do reviews of Yaira that aren't, like the quote unquote detractors.
Right, and it's got serious problems.
Yeah. So
I mean, it's girl boss central, and this is another possibly girl boss book, and that's what we're trying to get away from.
Yeah,
that's kind of what this is all about, is to get away from the alphabet community and the girl boss community and all of that, and just create really comics for men, male centric comics.
Yeah, the people who read comics.
Yeah.
Creating comics for the people who read comics, guys. I mean, if she was like a Zatanna with blood powers, that'd be pretty fucking sweet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, or like some kind of warlocky character, and it went like into some weird fantasy horror genre. Even though she's like in the Isom universe though, or whatever, but it told a complete story, and it didn't rehash events that don't matter, and dare I say, aren't plot driven, and definitely aren't character driven. You know, just random arbitrary events. Like it's just reshowing the part in what is it, Isom? Is it 1 or 2 where Bloodrose shows up? Is it 2? It's 2, right?
2. Isom 2. Yeah.
Yeah,
The whole end of Isom 2 is her and Isom fighting ape demon things.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Demon monkey.
Right. So if they just re-show that scene, but with not even showing like a different perspective, it's like, or giving you additional information. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Who cares? So just stuff like that. I mean, so it's, to me, it's kind of sad because if I was going in like completely fresh, or this was like anyone else who put out a book like this and just did a little teaser, I'd be like, oh shit, this looks pretty solid. But with all the added context of, oh, it's a Rippaverse book, it's like, yeah,
been there, done that. Yeah.
I'm good. So,
and again, it's probably another girl boss. So
yeah, I mean, if it's the Sausage Sisters, I can't imagine it won't be. So, but even the Yairo book, she wasn't. I don't know if I would put it in the girl boss category. I mean, it's not like she's spending her whole time deriding, and although she does basically murder that guy in prison because he calls her hot and says like, yeah, I want to fuck you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, she just like decapitates the guy or punches the guy, explodes, punches himself.
Well, you wonder where Isom actually even fits in this universe. He seems like probably the least powerful and the least, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, he's the least interesting character.
Yeah, he's like the character that, like, he was supposed to be the symbol and the one to carry it, kind of like Spider-Man is for the Marvel universe, and instead, it seems like he's the one that it can just lift right out, and nobody will give a shit. And that's like with the Mercenary Guild. Malchus is the character I'm trying to promote. He's like my Spider-Man, my symbol, and I'm definitely going to make sure that he's prominent in the world that I built.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. Like, what happens if you do take Isom out? What changes?
Does anything change?
I don't think anything. I don't think there's anything he does where if you took him out, the rest of the character interactions and their plots don't continue, because it's like he isn't a core. He doesn't set off he's not like the catalyst for any particular events. The guy that he's looking for / investigating / fighting against, like, I mean, it's not like he's involved in Projexis. He's just kind of there.
Yeah. Like, I mean, there has to be like, oh, we need Isom on this. Imagine that. Yeah, like we need Superman, or we need like, and there just isn't that. It's like Isom could just, maybe that is the plan. Maybe there was some sort of, I don't want to speculate, but there was lawsuits and there were things back. We don't know exactly what occurred, and maybe Isom will just become, gone.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of dumb. Like, he didn't even set it up that way from the beginning, though. I mean, before
that's true.
All the it's not like, because the way it should have been written was like what you're saying, where Alpha Core
should have been a badass, prominent, and it's like, Yaira shouldn't be throwing him into cars. Just like they should be like, oh, whoa, Isom's back.
They love that scene too. They love that.
Yeah, and that's just like, what?
Right.
She should know who Isom is. Like, if this were my world and he was my main hero, definitely people would know who he like. Whoa, he's back in town. What's going on?
Right, he's back in town. Yeah, exactly. It should be like you know how when like John Constantine shows up in the DC universe, everyone's like, "Oh fuck, it's this guy. I'm gonna have a bad day." Like that's how the villain should look at him. That's how people should be like, "Oh shit!" At the worst, you know what I mean? Like, "Oh, this
Yeah,
fucking
that's how like
asshole's here."
that's how it's like with Daredevil. As soon as like they see,
Yeah.
oh god,
Well, the
here's
Punisher,
Daredevil.
like,
Or
oh my god, the Punisher is even a worse example.
It's over.
Like, oh shit, wasn't
Get my shit pushed in for sure. Yeah, that's like got a rocket launcher.
Yeah, like when the Punisher shows up, sometimes even the heroes are like, "I'm getting the fuck out of town." But no one reacts. They're like, if they even know who Isom is, they're like, "Oh, this guy's an annoyance." Like Yaira's all but says, "You're in my way." He throws him into a fucking car.
Yeah.
Like you just got in her way, and not intentionally. He's just there because he's fucking follow up on some irrelevant lead from his sister. It's like, oh god, there's just no intention in these stories. There's like these characters have no agency. How can you be like? I mean, this is everyone says that Isom's a self-insert for Eric July. How can you kind of like as a cuck in his own universe? You know what I mean? It's like if I was going to self-insert myself into a story, like say you wrote, I don't know, say you're like, oh, I want to be Malchus or whatever, you know what I mean? Like he would be the center of attention.
Yeah.
Right? Like you wouldn't want everyone to love him, even though even though he's like a total Gary Sue and demands no respect from anybody. You know what I mean? Like you would want to write him that way at the very least. But Eric reads Ice of it's less like
it's
like you can barely be fucked to care about it. Like what? This is your chance to show off your like prize character, and you write the guy
this
like
is supposed to be the one that the comic that launches it, that carries it, that
yeah,
is the symbol.
and you give me no reason to be invested in it. Like you
Maybe.
don't care about this guy.
Yeah,
He doesn't care about this world. Why would I?
in fact, the male characters are the least interesting. Like Gooding, really, like whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, he's an insurance adjuster.
Fireman for hire.
Fireman, yeah, he's a handy guy.
So I don't know. I'm checked.
Brian Solari. He's
Solari, save us!
Yeah, pretty bland ripoff of
Superman
or Zod or whatever you want to say. Yeah, he doesn't really do. He just tries to command people a lot, but people don't really listen to him. You know, he shows up. He's like, "Garo, stand down," and she sexually assaults him and throws him around. You know what I mean? And he's just like, "Oh, okay." He carries that girl around all the time that can't fly. It's pretty retarded.
And then you have Ricky Ritardo with his helmet.
Ricky Ritardo. That's his own guy. Yeah, that's all. Yeah, I mean,
Doesn't say anything.
Enough said. Yeah, that's self-explanatory. Yeah, I mean, who else do you have? The guy who's that wrestler guy, Shungite. I don't know, man. You know, like at some point, you have these guys like EVS that people are attacking all the people in the space. And it's like, I hate to pile on to Eric stuff, but it's just not good. I mean, at some point we have to talk about the CG god stuff and how their stuff isn't actually like their shit stinks too, you know?
Yeah.
But
there's some bad writing amongst, I think the people really, the guy who's really consistent and really should be the king is Graham Nolan. He's putting out quite a bit of work, and it's all quality art and writing.
He doesn't need them though.
No,
he's not. I mean, he's not like on all the EVS streams and everything, right? So
not as much. I mean, he'll do. He even does things with like Gary and Az, like Real BBC,
yeah,
and
he'll just talk to people. Like if people want to have him on, he'll talk to them, and he'll put his own book, and yeah, the going after and attacking other people is interesting because it's like you're inviting that onto yourself. Well, it seems like Ethan is doing a lot of projecting, where it's like he'll go after people if they give his friends a bad review or something and try to tear them down. It's like, isn't this what you're accusing Eric July and all his people of doing? Like, you can't separate your buddy getting a bad review from somebody and their work. And something else I was thinking about that I wanted to say. I just forgot. It'll come back to me. But yeah, they seem to be doing the same kind of stuff.
Well, it's a bit hypocritical. I mean, there's certain people, they'd say Eric July can't take criticism. Okay, that's valid, but there's some people in that circle can't take criticism either. So,
yeah,
it kind of goes all ways. And
yeah. And then they're going after yeah, I remember what I was going to say about it now. You said something recently where he's basically saying like, so like Ethan's been shitting on Eric for a while or making fun of him or telling him, like you're a grifter. You don't help smaller independent creators. Look how virtuous I am. And now pretty much everyone that isn't Ethan's buddies that have reached out to him to try to help, promote their stuff, or they're in CG, or they want a shot to sell their book. He's invites them in and then literally just shits on them all stream, like pulls up private DMs and a total asshole to them or about them, whatever.
Yeah.
And so who's promoting other indie creators and people? It's like, well, I'm paranoid now that you're going to be like these other two guys I don't like, so no, I'm just not going to let any. And then he'll say like, well, go do your own stuff, like promote your own stuff, be successful. It's like, okay, well, yeah, we're all just going to do that, and then we don't need you. And he'll say stuff about Ripasend, like, well, Eric, the only people who are going to go with Eric are going to be his buddies, because if you are successful, you don't need Ripasend. That's a dumb idea. Like, that's retarded. He's literally not going to get anybody because no one would want to work with him. It's like, okay, I could say the same thing about you. Like, I'm not going to reach out to you if I'm successful and I'm good at promoting my own stuff. Like, if I'm already doing so well and I'm so good at marketing my own stuff, I don't need your help. But people also reach out to him because he specifically says that he's this big, indie promoter. And
well, he can make, I've seen him make up to $5,000 for $3,000 to $5,000 for somebody in one night. I mean, he can definitely do that. I haven't watched a lot recently, but I haven't seen it recently either, where nobody that's how I found a few comics, is just somebody I would have never supported. He had them on or supported their work, and then I supported it, but I haven't seen that in a while. It seems like it's
exactly
suspects.
Yeah, it is. So that's the thing. It's that's why I would say it's kind of the projection coming out. He just doesn't want to do anymore. He's like, oh well, I could just charge people. Like, my time is very valuable. I make these people's books. Like, if I tell people to back it, they'll back it. So I should just charge you. My time's very valuable. Like, I don't want to be bothered. Okay, well,
yeah. I mean,
there you go.
Yeah.
then don't say that you're trying, or I guess you could do something where it's like, if you wanted to be very picky, because I understand being picky about who you want to associate and who you want to promote. Okay, well, have a submission process. Hey, if I'm going to bring you on my show, I want to do an interview, vet you, and I want you to send me like the PDF of your book, just like any kind of reviewer or article, or like there's another company I'm thinking off the top of my head where they're like, yeah, we're opening submissions up to indie people. We'll do like a spotlight. Send us your, PDF of your volume or issue 1 or whatever. You can do that. Put a Google form. Okay, send me the book. I have to read through it first, just like a regular comic company or publisher or promotional group. Yeah, you could do that. You could put up some kind of barrier, but you still have to do it. Like, you just have to have the follow through. Like, it's worse than being hypocritical. It just makes you an asshole who's totally full of shit. Like, if you say you do it and you're this big guy and you're promoting people, which, yeah, like you say, he can. Okay, great. Well, then don't then invite people to do that and then shit on them when they reach out to you. Like, what do you expect? You literally asked for it. It's not complicated. And like, people take people seriously. Like, if I said right now on this stream the type of things Ethan says, I'm sure, well, we'd also have to have the following or whatever, and have like a bunch of people who, if we pointed them in a direction, they would buy whatever we told them to. So if we had like a bunch of loyal followers and I was saying this stuff that Ethan says, we would get a shitload of submissions. You know what I mean? We would get a bunch of emails and DMs hitting us up. So I don't understand, like, these are the consequences of you saying that you're this type of person.
Yeah.
Why are you trying to blame people for that? I don't understand. It's not necessarily that they need you to do it either. They're just asking you because you put it out there. So I found that very weird. Anyways,
we're finding out new things.
So yeah, I find it weird. So it's, whatever.
I mean, when my book comes out, I mean, I have a lot of faith in it. It's going to be good. The art's going to be good. The story's tight. We did what we could. I want to present it. Obviously, I want to make money, or at least get some, recoup what I can. But I think for comic fans, because comics, independent comics are all about comics, without the identity politics, without the this, without the that. And that's what I want to present to comic fans is, here's something you might be interested in. That's why I listen to a lot of these streams. Is I was a comic fan, so if they're promoting a certain comic, definitely that got me interested. You
want to be the person.
All the bashing and the drama bullshit that didn't do, but it seems like many comic fans. And I talked to Chris Stanley about this, who used to be a regular in Ethan's chat, and he's done. He's gone. I think he used to be a wrench. And I think he's gone.
People are gonna leave because they don't. Yeah,
it's all drama.
And it's so obvious to someone who's going to work on their own stuff or into the independent sphere. It's like, if you're gonna be a critic, okay, be a critic or review stuff, right? Whatever. But if you're going to shit on people or attack them or bash their stuff, I mean, are you not consciously aware of the fact that if you put something out there, you've opened yourself up to the same criticism? Like, I don't understand why this is shocking to people. No matter who it is, Eric or Ethan or whoever the fuck. Like, yeah, when we put out Mercenary Guild, if people are like, oh yeah, these guys were talking shit about these people and I reviewed their book, I think it sucks. Like, yeah, you're gonna have people that think it sucks. Duh. Like, that's expected. Why wouldn't you? But the people who keep their head down and work and put out good stuff and promote it and don't go around constantly trying to dramatize each other's creators' work, like, yeah, they do well. They do fine because they're just trying to make something and sell it for money, and make something people enjoy, and there's a demand for. They're not trying to use the shock value of the drama and then sell them a product.
Yeah.
Like, get people at that point, you're kind of an activist because you're trying to do like a AstroTurf where you're ginning up rage, people getting mad, and then it's like, buy my thing because you're mad at this thing, at this person I presented it for. You know what I mean? Here, this person is shitty. They should piss you off. Yeah, I'm super pissed at them based off of what you said, which is total bullshit. Okay, well, the solution to that is buying my thing. It'll make you feel better. Like Kyle was saying, it's the carny. It's the carny game.
Yeah.
So
you make a lot of money. I mean, you make a lot of money, but it's, to me, it's no longer really about comics anymore.
Yeah. Well,
so that's
like
what
you
we
said,
like. That's why we're
eventually
doing like topic lists every week on Luke and Jason's channel, because it's still comics.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, and if Chuck Dixon does Horseman, and it's good, and it's like the first good book that Eric puts out, I'll buy it.
Yeah.
Like, I will swallow all my words about. I mean, I think he still does a lot of
what you said still stands, but this would be a good book, and if he makes a good book, I'm cool with it.
Right. But like, I'm not anti-Eric where I'm like,
No.
well, I'm just not going to buy anything he does because I don't like this guy. Like, I'm anti the books that he's put out.
Yeah, I don't dislike him. I don't know him, and I'm not going to pretend that I do.
Right, yeah.
But if he makes a good book, that's fine. But now his books just haven't really lived up to the price tag for me.
But I bet you a lot of these people who are but a lot of the people who are the detractors and the CG guys and Ethan, like, they're now. So before it was like, so Eric would do well, Ethan swallowed his words and gave Isom a good review, right? And then when it was no longer in his best interest because it hurt his pride, and he was like, fuck, understandable, right? He was like, fuck these guys, I'm not going to let them push me around. Let me tell you how bad and awful this actually is. He flipped. But if Eric does come out with a good book, because Ethan, I don't think, is really reviewing stuff anymore either. Maybe just Eric July's books. He was doing that for like a little bit, and then he just stopped. But is he so invested now, and are these guys so invested in making content off of the drama of shitting on Eric that they will never flip back? Like, they're totally flipped to the other side, and it is a tribal thing now, where they're saying, okay, well, I have to hate everything this guy comes out with, because now they're invested in that.
That is where it's at, and I think that's I'm still, if a book is good, I'll give it a shot. People say, yeah, this is actually okay, I'll give it a try. I don't care.
Yeah, that's where
I just want the entertainment.
Yeah, well, that's where the people should be, but that's the problem is.
But yeah, my career doesn't. I mean, there's like 50 channels right now whose sole monetization and everything is just shitting on Eric July and clipping and doing everything they can, either on Nick Rekieta or Eric July or whatever, and it's just like, wow, you are the type of people I would never hire in my office because you need to get a fucking life first.
Yeah.
I don't think you could do a job if that's what you're doing, because I can't listen. I cannot YouTube. On that level, I cannot dedicate my life to just picking apart one person over and over and over again, day after day, week after week, month after month. Now we're at a year into all this feuding bullshit, and it's not stopping. And it's like, wow, holy shit, man. unbelievable how this person's in someone's head. Look, the guy makes shitty comics. That's it. Don't buy them. It's enough said.
Right. So now they have all this incentive. They're financially motivated.
Oh yeah.
To doing that. Yeah, it's so funny. Like you and me are live in a totally different world than these people. Like are. Yeah, it reminds me of the your boy Zach, like a video he came out with, which his is kind of going against the YouTube critic sphere and what he calls like the modern anti SJW, which that just reminds me of all like the MGTOW content creators, where you had all these people come in because they see money and views.
Yeah.
So you just make like the lowest
Trying to sell Bitcoin or something.
Yeah, and then scam people. It just looks like, from his perspective, what we've seen already in that, in like the manosphere or whatever. But yeah, I mean it's not just it's not just the quote unquote griftosphere. Like it's these CG detractor guys that are doing the same thing. But they're yeah, he was saying it's like they just need to look in the mirror really. But he was how he's saying like the makers versus the takers, or whatever the analogy was. But then he said something that was pretty funny, put it in perspective, where it's like, imagine like your broke loser dad who isn't looking for a job, but he just hangs out with his friends, and like they all watch the same rerun of some show from like the 80s, like MASH or insert whatever he said, and they're just like circulating the same clip and talking shit about it all day, begging for handouts. And it's like, yep, that's what super chats are. They're literally just sitting there, like begging people to donate and throw money at them, and repeating the same shit. And
it works. I mean,
yeah, sure.
People making ridiculous money off that. So you can make 2,000 or whatever a night. I mean, okay. I don't send super chats, and I don't expect any. So on the flip, I mean, if you want to send something someday, that's great. I don't send super chats because I do not idolize any of these people. I do not know any of these people. I do not spend $5,000 flying somewhere for some fucking meetup to
that's crazy, dude.
Meet these people in hotels and shit like this. So whatever. I mean, I guess this is
they
the
would
new
say
celebrity.
Right. Well, they would say, oh yeah, like you have to work a shitty real job, like to work as a YouTuber. But yeah, in the real world, like you have to produce something of value.
Well, I have a skill too.
Yeah,
it's like I'm actually helping people, and I'm actually, solidifying my skill set, which is actually transferable in the world out there. Whereas you just sit and talk about Star Wars, which who's going to pay? Outside of YouTube, who's going to pay you for that, really?
Right. So that people have so much expendable income, they can super chat them and give them donations. But he put it in such good perspective. Like imagine just going out in the street and bitching about Star Wars and like holding out a cup. Let's see if people sit around and listen to you complain. Yeah, it's funny. Because in the real world, those people are total losers. Like they don't do shit. They don't have valuable skills or produce anything or like add value to something or business or their company or whatever.
All they do is read an article that they didn't write and comment. That's it. Signal boost it or make a comment on it. That's it.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I enjoyed having discussions about this type of stuff. Yeah, I mean, if we ever get to the point where we're, any significant amount of viewers, like, for the love of God, instead of super chatting us, just throwing money at us for nothing,
buy our books.
Just buy the fucking book. Yeah.
Buy the book. You know what? You're going to get something out of it, and we'll get something out of it, and that's what again. It's about comics. It's about entertainment.
And if you just want to support us and donate, like because some people super chat a lot of money, but they wouldn't buy like 20 copies of Mercenary Guild. You know what I mean? Or they could gift them, I guess. That's like gifting subs.
Yeah.
But if they're like, oh, I just want to donate to support you guys, great. Thank you for supporting us
Yeah.
to continue making and producing, something that's hopefully of value. So, because that's what it would be. I would just set it aside and be like, okay, this is going to art fees or expenses or printing fees, production fees. Not just gonna.
Yeah, we'll definitely put it to use.
Yeah.
Not just going to fucking party, let's go to Vegas, guys, and have a meetup and rent out a bar.
Or Atlantic City and gambling like $2,000 of super chats.
Yeah.
Or whatever. I'm just trying to be balanced because it's easy to shit on the YouTubers, but it's gotta
Well, we're at least we're trying to create new IPs and new avenues of entertainment. I mean, I know some people need the the shows that make fun of Disney or whatever, and that's fine, but eventually you kind of lift out of that because
you're supposed to grow and move on from that.
Yeah. And so I guess everybody has an entry point. I'm over it. It's like, if you don't like Star Wars, don't watch it,
Yeah.
But,
yeah. I was trying to give a balanced take because it's easy to shit on Rippaverse, but people are afraid to, for some reason, to call out Ethan or CG people. It's like they're all doing the stupid YouTube shit and polarizing people and causing drama, and people are getting pissed off and walking away. Like I think for every point that we've made about Eric, we can at this point make about Ethan. Like, trying to sell action figures for an IP that hasn't even come out yet. Like, why would I be invested in Rainbow the Brute? Like, I want to read Rainbow the Brute.
Yeah.
And if I like it, yeah, I could buy the action figure, but why would you like want to get everyone invested? I mean, he's making money off it, so for to him, he's like, yeah, I'm making money, great. So, but
well, like I backed the Cyber Frog when it first came out, and I think I paid 56 some odd dollars, maybe close to, with shipping and everything, over 60. But now I think you can get them from his eBay store, and sometimes he has sales.
Still like doing something. Yep. And people were talking about Eric. Oh, he's destroying the secondary market, discounting his stuff deeply.
It's like, wait, I paid 50. Yeah, I got a free chicken bucket. Who gives a shit? I'd rather pay I'll wait till they're already out so I can get them within a week. And if that screws up your crowdfund, sorry, but I'm not going to pay $56 when, like 2 years from now. I think I waited 2 years for that action figure. Somebody can pay $32 and what? They get the same thing I had for the most part. So
right. Yeah. So yeah, trying to just point out some of this stuff and be a little balanced about it, because it's interesting. Yeah, like I backed the race car because the thing with Cody was sweet, sponsoring him to do the NASCAR stuff, but
yeah,
I haven't gotten that stuff yet. I guess now, because instead of fulfilling that and shipping it out, he's trying to do like, well, I'm gonna pay these guys to do the molds or whatever, so I'm gonna do like 6 different cars, and yeah, it's spreading a lot of these crowdfunding things really thin to me, because instead of just being like, okay, I'm doing this, it's I'll say House of Cards. I don't think it's that thin necessarily, but like the more and more it does it, it's like, okay, well, instead of fulfilling this and sending these cars out with the books, now you're trying to use that to pivot into more cars, and now you're doing this for action figure. Like, it's almost becoming a, like, I wonder if he's using a lot of the funds from one campaign to pay for something for another campaign. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
yeah. Oh well, we'll do things our way, and
that's all I'll say about it. I don't know. I'm not gonna
yeah.
speculate, but well, it's, and I'm not even saying it's purposeful, but like you know, if you're not careful, it's not like you're creating a Ponzi scheme, but it could easily spiral out of control into that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I'm kind of done backing a lot of projects right now. I mean, except for like Hardly Heroes, but there's a lot of stuff right now that I see, and it's like, God, I mean, I backed things from
man.
4 years ago, and I still haven't seen hide nor hair.
Well, right, you're actually not backing Hardly Heroes. You're just ordering it.
Yeah, I'm just ordering it. Yeah.
They just come out with the book, and it's available for. Yeah, that's the thing. I have no sense of FOMO with this stuff because we're making books, so it's like I'm on the other side of it.
Yeah, and that's
So
kind of how I feel. It's like I supported. I think I used to support just to support, and so kind of like the whole super chat conversation we were having. Like I would just buy someone's book, give them money so they can keep going and make more stuff. But then I've realized it's sometimes I never get the book, or I get it and or whatever. I'm disappointed. For the most part, I've been disappointed in a lot of things. So again, recently, Wolf and Batsy is the only real comic I'm really into right now.
Yeah, and I mean, Alterna has a pretty good track record. They've been putting out books.
Yeah, and I've supported Pete a lot. I think I have over 200 Alterna comics. I got beanie hats. I got quite a bit of merch from Pete.
I mean, I'm excited to get into Blood Realm. I've been looking for a point to jump onto that, and when they were doing the Indiegogo that had all the back issues, I'm like, hell yeah, let's do it. So yeah, it's cool. Yeah, and like, I mean, we're producing our own books, so you start to have a lot less disposable income when like you're spending money to produce stuff.
I don't have the money to back everything, so it's got to be something that I really just want to buy something that's already out, or something that's I know is going to be solid. Like if it's from Graham Nolan, I know it's going to be good, and I know it's going to be out within a short period of time. And I think maybe Irene, she's done some good work, and and she gets a lot done because she's always working.
Yeah, she's busy working.
She's more focused on
involved in the bullshit.
Yeah, the bullshit. And so, but outside of that, sorry guys, man, I gave a lot of people a chance, and I'm reading some of their work, and it might have good art, and it might have this or that, but the storytelling isn't that strong. Just to call a spade. I mean, like Graham Nolan really is the only one who's really nailing it in all areas and creating characters and stories and and they're interlinked. And it's, again, it's what you want in a comic, but he's kind of, he's it. He's really the king of indie comics in my book because he's put out a ton of stuff. If you go to Compass Comics, you'll see the Monster Island and the Frankenstein books and the Alien Alamo and Chanu, and meanwhile, other people, it takes them 4 years to put out one book, and in 4 years, he's put out all this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, everyone, there's a ton of competition. It's not just like,
and that's because Graham Nolan's working right now. He's probably working.
Yeah, exactly.
He's working.
So. Yeah, and even some of the more mainstream guys, I mean, when they're putting out their own stuff, like they're independent. Like Tyler Kirkham, I had a chance to meet that guy recently. He's a cool guy. We're gonna try to do maybe a cover or something with him. But he was doing, or I guess he's still doing the elite artist series with a handful of other guys, and they're doing the final boss. That series. The guys who went to Image and they're doing Ghost Machine. That universe, I've heard pretty good things about that so far. Who's another? Scotty Young. He's a pretty prominent mainstream artist, but he puts out. I mean, he's already put out a handful of indie titles, that he's done. I think he writes and draws everything. So there's a lot of guys doing, I mean, like technically they're independent doing that stuff, Yeah. So even if they go through Image or whatever, they're self-publish and do it on their website or whatever. Like you have that. I mean, Graham Nolan came from like pretty mainstream stuff.
Yeah, DC.
Yeah, so these guys go out and on their own and they do some independent stuff. It's pretty solid. And then you've had people like Pete who've been independent for a while and they kept with it. They have a good track record for delivering stuff, so they have the longevity. And then you have guys that are, I guess they're all different business models, but I don't think it's a great long-term strategy for some of these guys who are. I mean, if it's taking you years to put out books, and you're doing a lot of YouTube stuff, and the stipulation I'm going to say is like you're the creator, like if you're the artist, I don't know if that's great long term because, like you said, to support people, you're almost like you're kind of buying into the persona or the personality or like the character that they create for themselves, that like if you will, like their caricature, and so you believe the hype, and then you're going to get let down because you're not viewing it as like you're not viewing it as the book first. You know what I mean? Like I don't think Pete Samedi has this like cult of personality, where people are like, "Oh man, it's Pete," and you're like, "Okay, well, what about the books?" It's like, "Well, yeah, it's this thing Pete's coming out with." Like I don't hear people talk about him except, man, he's a good guy. He's doing great indie stuff. Like you talk about, what is it, Batsy?
Yeah, Wolf and Batsy.
Wolf and Batsy, or Koroi is one of his other titles.
Oh, Red Koi.
Red Koi, Blood Realm. Like there's one or two other ones. There's Cryptid, King Cryptid.
King Cryptid. That's really good. That's
really good. Yeah, and good stuff. And but that about the books if you know about them. Anyways, there's the point I'm making is there's a pattern there. Like if you buy into the cult personality or the caricature or whatever, you're probably going to get let down because you're at that point you're not thinking about the book or the quality of the content or the story. You're like, oh, I'm going to support this guy, and then
and
probably going to get let down.
Early on with Pete is he would have these deals where you buy like 10 comics for, or no, some ridiculous price, like 10 comics for $10 or something like that. So
he's been able to keep his prices down for a long time because I think he does like newsprint still, and he's found a way to get a lock on that, and so that's continue.
No, and so I just started to go through certain books and see, some I really like, some didn't, but I still, I got a nice stack and nice variety, and then I just got to dial in what I liked and what what I wanted to focus on as far as back issues and whatnot. And again, it was really, really cheap to get a bunch of comics, and it was good stuff. I mean, it's what I want, at a good price. He's raised his prices since. I think they're $2.50 now, but they were $1 or $1.50.
Yeah, but holy crap! I mean, $250 now is still crazy compared to. I mean, we have to sell ours for $6.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, but at least he offers those things. You can go to a site and just find some sort of, and then he just puts a bunch of different issues from different comics in there, and you can see what you like. And
yeah, eventually we'll do like some of these other people I've seen do, where it'll be like a little box set or whatever. We do like a sampler or like a Shattermare box set where it's like you get issue 1 of like 4 or 5 different books.
Yeah.
So
some of this was like issue 3 of this or issue 4. So some of you are kind of right in the middle of things. So, but I just wanted to have a comic to read, and if I didn't know exactly what was going on, that was okay. I just wanted to get a flavor for it, because even if I don't know what's going on, I can at least see what the character is or what they're like or what it's about. I mean, some were, like cop dramas. I really wasn't into those. Some were, for more kids, like Mr. Crypt, which was good, but it's very, very childlike. And then there's Blood Realm and things like that. And
yeah, definitely more.
Kind of dialed in what I really liked and just started ordering that. And I probably, I've spent in those days, I spent over $200, which is a lot of comic books at $1.50 a piece.
Yeah, for sure. Holy crap.
Yeah.
But you're still reading. You're enjoying them. So that's, says something. So I don't know. I mean, these guys have a lot of hype and they've got some loyal followers too that will back pretty much whatever they do or say or put out or, sneeze or cough onto the internet. So, but it just seems to me that, I don't know. A lot of people are finding good success, arguably the most success, especially long term, which is pretty important, by not getting involved with bullshit and antagonizing other people and, doing their own thing. And so, something to be said about that. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. But, all right, should we call it or?
Yeah, it's past my bedtime.
All right. Okay. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. You can find me at Morb357 on Twitter, and please check out the Mercenary Guild at themercenaryguild.com to sign up for the newsletter. It doesn't cost anything.
You mean this thing right here?
That is it.
Yeah, thanks everyone for hanging out and staying tuned. Like William said, go to shattermarecomics.com, sign up for the Mercenary Guild. We've got this email sign up right now, and we also have the Victor email newsletter sign up. If you sign up for these guys, when you pre-order or order the book, eventually we do the launch campaigns. Same thing with Victor. We just, to be announced what character we're going to do, but you'll get a unique special collectible character card just for being a part of the email newsletter. And as long as you just provide the email, we're not harvesting any of your other personal information. So so cool. And then pick up the latest issue of Hardly Heroes on issue 9. Pretty stoked about that, and I'm super excited about issue 10 because that's when Adam starts. That's going to be his first issue, and I kind of want to do something special for that too, like an not email campaign, like a crowdfunding campaign or something, some kind of cool pre-order campaign. Maybe give people pages of interior art, something like that. So we'll see.
That sounds good.
Throw in prints with the book, something to celebrate, his basically launch issue. But that'll be cool. And then hopefully a very long run for Adam Tompkins. But yeah, we're making good progress.
He's doing the art?
Yeah, he's doing pencils and inks. And we're making good progress too. We're already like what is it? Page 20? I want to say.
Past mine.
About to. What? Yeah, he's giving Luke a run for his money, and he's working on Victor too. So think about that.
Huh.
Yeah. So I'm excited about that. Pages are turning out pretty sweet. And we came up with a new color palette, color style for the colors for Hardly Heroes. So it's going to be a cool. I'm hoping it's not going to be like a huge shock to readers. But I mean, it's definitely going to be different, but I think in a good way. Like the quality of art will improve. The colors we're going for almost like Conan, like a Death Dealer kind of art, kind of colors, with almost like a classic, almost like a grittier, because he's a very European artist, so it's almost like a grittier, kind of like Lord of the Rings art style. So more realistic. So that's pretty cool.
Franzetta type of.
Yeah. With that kind of color palette. So so instead of it being kind of like where the colors in the first 8-9 issues is like kind of like a painterly style with like a brush, almost like a watercolor ish. This will be almost like a more like an oil wash, oil painting color, painterly style. If I may have fucked that up. Hopefully I didn't fuck that up.
I don't know that much about art, to be honest with you. So.
I've had to learn a lot for the colors just so I don't, I know like the cell shading is a lot of your like Eastern manga style colors, and then you have like your very traditional Western comic style colors, and then you've got your painterly brush stroke kind of colors. And Frazetta did like a lot of kind of oil wash painting. That's what gives his stuff a really like especially the stuff he did with a lot of warm colors. I don't know, it gives it I don't know how to describe it. Anyways, I'm sure everyone has seen Death Dealer.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're going for that. So hopefully we do a good job with that. Anyways, yeah. I just want to say I'm very excited about that. I have another tangent to go on with Death Dealer, but I'll say that for next stream. So anyways. Okay. But yeah, so stay tuned for that. We'll be posting pages and stuff once we get closer to there. Probably end of the year. And then yeah, maybe have a surprise Mercenary Guild announcement towards the end of the year. So stay tuned for that.
Okay.
I won't say that now. But yeah, man. We'll see you guys next week. Same time, same channel. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yep. Goodbye.
Okay, have a good night, everybody.